Take care.
We're live! We're live!
Saving America one mind at a time. This is Smyth Radio. And now, your hosts, Carrie and Brian Smyth.
Right now, a historic moment. We can now project the winner of the presidential race. CNN projects Donald Trump wins the presidency. The business tycoon and TV personality capping his improbable political journey with an astounding upset victory. Donald J. Trump will become the 45th president of the United States, defeating Hillary Clinton in a campaign unlike anything we've seen in our lifetime. Donald Trump wins the presidency of the United States. He is now going to be called President-elect Donald Trump. He's walking up right now. You see him right there. He's going to be speaking momentarily. He's got his wife there. History has been made. Jake, this is a moment a lot of people are going to remember.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Smyth Radio. I'm your host, Brian Smyth.
Carrie Smith.
Giving you all the late-breaking news and the facts, wrapping it all up, telling you what happened last week, explaining it all, giving you our take on it, exposing fake news. Today is our Takedown Sunday. Takedown Sunday, folks. That's what today is. Today's a huge, huge day in the new news media world, if you will.
Last week was Takedown Sunday also, wasn't it? Or we didn't have a website ready.
Nope, we did not have a website ready. We've got it ready now. We've got a lot of breaking news. A lot of stuff went down on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The media likes to hide that. And now we've got Trump. Trump knows how to hide it too. Maybe he does. Trying to hide his own information. I've got a lot of sound bites on CNN propaganda, the lying, crazed CNN. This week, I think they actually lit the fuse and exploded their own minds. Everybody from Don Lemon to Joe Scarborough to, Scarborough's on MSNBC. I've got stuff on that too. It is absolutely insane out there right now, folks. We are doing everything we can to get all the facts and all the information up front. But before we start the show, I just want to give a shout out, I guess, if you will, a heads up. Our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody in Texas that has been hit by the hurricane. I see Sam Keel, our buddy Sam that's been with us since almost the beginning.
Several people that are patrons to Smyth Radio are living in Texas and having to go through this, some of which may have evacuated and some of whom had to button down the hatches, I guess.
Yeah, and Antifa literally burning down free speech flags. We've got a lot of stuff. Power Pack show. If you are in Texas and you know anything about what's going on because you're on the ground, by all means, you can go directly to our Spreaker page where we broadcast live, smithradio.info, and we also have the live streaming Periscope. Go to @BrianPSmith, and Carrie will
I've been posting
undoubtedly retweet it, I would think.
I posted it.
And that's on @SmithRadio. We've got a special guest on tonight. We've got the firecracker, the firestorm. The woman who's taken, I hear her laughing in the background. The woman who's taking fake news, CNN, MSNBC, taking them all to task. Hashtag our takedown, folks. This is our time. There's so many amazing things going on right now. And let's just, without any further ado, I mean, let me put this out there real quick. For those of you who have gone to patreon.com/SmithRadio, I want to give you a huge thank you. Karen and I both thank you so much from the bottom of our heart. We're not the kind of, it's weird for us in this kind of situation where we put something out there to get paid for it because we've been doing this for so long for free, but it feels really, really good. And again, those of you who do become patrons, even at $1, one little dollar bill, if you become a patron on $1, you will be invited to the private session, the champagne room.
Oh, God. I don't know about that.
I'm scared about that one, boys. I know I shouldn't have jumped in.
Not the champagne room.
The private message board that we have set up for our patrons. And thank you very much because you've been sharing a lot of great ideas and a lot of great information.
Right.
Keeps us posted.
And we post a lot there, so you can talk to us directly almost on a daily basis.
Right. And that'll happen if you go to patreon.com/SmithRadio. $1.
$1.
And without any further ado, Joni, I know they heard you, but Joni, welcome to Smyth Radio.
I'm so happy to be here. And you know what? Before we get started, I want to say the same thing about the Houston area. I was caught up in my, talking about the case and meant to say, listen, I know that my mother has put them on a prayer line, and we have a lot of people that are down there hurting today. And I really want to give a shout out to them. And thank you for reminding me of that.
Absolutely.
How do we get an echo? Uh-oh. Hold on a second.
Do you have an echo?
Yeah, there's an echo. Oh, do you have your speaker up too loud? That might be what happened.
Let me see.
Sometimes
is that better?
Does it echo now? No, it sounds great now.
Okay, yeah. Sometimes if you turn your speaker up on your computer too loud, which I highly recommend getting the little earbuds because that'll eliminate that problem completely. But if you turn it down a little bit and so that you can still hear us but not too loud, then you don't get that echo. So,
Gary,
all right,
I have lots of earbuds because you know where I use them.
All right.
Definitely. Table.
So the folks on Periscope say the sounds great now. But definitely, I know our church this morning said a prayer this morning for Texas. We're all the way up in Cincinnati, and we've got friends. I mean, here in America, we've got a lot of friends everywhere, especially those patriots, support America, support Trump. We find you guys everywhere from California all the way to D.C. So, Joni, we talked a little bit earlier this morning about maybe setting this up for everybody so that everybody can kind of this is, like you referenced, this is the ball game, folks. We're in the second inning. And we had the first inning last show. So Joni is going to kind of give you a brief summary of what happened last week, where we're going with this takedown of CNN, hashtag our takedown, and then we'll kind of go from there, and we're going to explain to you the breaking news. I'm so excited about everything that's going on, folks.
Yeah,
and
it is great.
Joni's going to let that happen. So go ahead, Joni. You kind of lay it out for everybody.
Well, what I'll do real quick is just act like no one's ever heard of this before.
Good idea.
And just kind of summarize quickly so at least they can catch up and know what's going on at the rest of the broadcast. Basically, what happened is collectively people were getting first of all, they became exhausted, and then they became mad, and then they became angry, and then they wanted to take action against what was going on at CNN. CNN first started, calling our president. We understand all that, but then they started turning against the American citizens, and they started setting up our rallies and kind of organizing Antifa and other radical groups to come in. And they actually started that back when Trump was campaigning. But so what happened is I was sitting in my house one night, and it's only been like 7 or 8 days ago, maybe 10 at the most. And Michael Moore got on and called all of Trump supporters, not only racist, but accomplices to rape.
Oh, that's crazy.
And that was it. I got up and I said, I'm suing CNN. And that is where it began. And basically, so many American citizens have the exact same collective feeling at the same time. And I started researching, and the more I researched, the more illegal meat I have found. And one thing that I want to get straight, this case, if we bring it, is going to be a collective class action lawsuit, meaning that as many American citizens that feel that their rights have been trampled on to have free speech, to pray in public places, to and feel like they have had a target put on their back
right.
by CNN. CNN is now not. They have labeled us as a group, and not only that, then they are in cahoots with Soros and the people that are financing these radical groups that are coming in, and it's resulting in the death of our American citizens. And they are trying to do this under the guise of, we've got free speech, we're a news organization, and I'm here to tell them that they're wrong. Their speech, the way they're doing it, lies aren't protected, and they have a heightened responsibility because they are supposed to be a news organization, and they're not protected in what they're doing. And we are now if you want to sign up for this, if you just go to www.ourtakedown, OURTAKEDOWN, and it'll walk you through some prompts. And we are now collectively getting everybody's information. We can legally go in and certify the class, and then I can take this in front of a judge and say, Judge will no longer be targeted and be even killed and put on by CNN and their lives.
Definitely assaulter, without a doubt, right? I mean, people are being assaulted out there.
Stalked, menaced, everything that you can think of. I'm telling you, intimidation is a huge one. There's a whole bunch of case law that I'm finding on intimidation that goes exactly to what CNN is doing. And they're accomplices. They are putting it out there. And then not only that, but you have to understand, they are in with the money that is financing the group that then is coming and assaulting us. The very group that they're creating. They're creating a target group, and then they're assaulting us.
So there's I want to throw out some concerns that some people have, and then you tell us what you would say to these people. The first one's pretty simple. We got somebody that said, I would sign up, but it's asking me for my phone number, so I'm not going to do that. What would you say to somebody that has those kind of concerns?
Well, and I think that they set the site up. I'm not for sure that it would only allow you to sign up if you give your phone number. But the thing is that when you certify a class action, and we have to get a hold of the individual, first of all, to prove that it's a real individual. The leftist is great at creating fake lists and going in, and voting with, dead people's names and, Aunt John Uncle John, or maybe Aunt John anymore. You know how that is. Sorry
That's a good
about
one.
that, guys. I'm supposed to behave myself. I read you guys.
No, you're good. You're
listeners,
good.
They put me on Jump Street last time because I said a bad word.
No, you're good.
I'm not here to judge.
No bad words. But anyway, we have to be able to not only get a hold of you, but we have to then, whatever judgment we receive, when we go in, if I take this to court, we're suing for $500 million. That's the threshold for a diversity case, for a class action case, I believe.
Awesome.
I believe it's 500. Don't quote me on that. It could be 50 million. But
whatever it is, we're going to try to put them out of business, right?
Well, 500 sounds like a good number. I'm happy with that, Joni. I don't need any more than that.
That wouldn't be bad, would it? But the bottom line is, and I don't think anybody's going into this thinking that they're going to, you're going to get rich. What we want is we want our America back.
Yeah, I mean, I would donate all the money. I just want them to stop lying to the people. And okay, you're allowed to lie. Lying is protected speech, but don't put me in a group that has open season or has been declared open season for assault on when I'm not a part of that group, and it's just crazy.
Right, lying really isn't per se protected speech, especially if you're a news organization. And let me tell you something. CNN just got spanked to $30 million.
Yeah, that's part of
they lied.
The notes on the show prep. So let's get into a couple of the questions that we have set up for Joni. I've got the questions from some of the folks that are in our text message group, and also from folks on the Twitter sphere. And I guess the first one that you brought up now. CNN lost a $30 million lawsuit to Michael Black, M.D., Anderson, and this is just kind of a brief setup of what's going on. Anderson Cooper had his show on, and they did a whole show about this hospital where Dr. Black
multiple shows
where Dr. Black works at, and they said that his personal infant mortality rate of open heart surgery was 3 times worse. He was losing babies 3 times more than the SDS national average. Problem is that the SDS average is open heart and closed heart, but they selectively just chose to look at his open heart and not the whole picture. And they on purposely, well, obviously by the lawsuit they lied. They shut it down. They lost. on purposely made it look as if this doctor was losing babies 3 times more than
like he was a bad doctor.
Yes.
Right.
Well, that's exactly right. And, I've got to get into the guts of the story. I mean, the judge made some great law in it, but I wonder if this guy was a conservative American. Because there's some reason that they targeted him,
Right. And I thought that was weird, too. When I was reading the article, Joni, I kept thinking to myself, wow, I mean, these guys really went after this guy. And I don't know if they destroyed his career, but they attempted to. So apparently they've got a beef with him, because normally big outfits like CNN don't go after like an individual in a situation like that.
Well, yeah, but they've proved that wrong. Remember the gentleman who did the CNN gif, and
right.
And they went after him and said, we're not going to publish your name as long as you don't say anything else.
Yeah, that's right.
I bet you he got a few million too, but it's just not published
because there's no lawsuit there.
Yeah,
right.
No, they settled. Trust me.
They had to have. Well, what would you say? Okay, so.
Well, you want to talk about this $30 million
lawsuit? Go ahead.
That has something to do with what we're doing. There's a connection there, right?
It's on point. Case in point.
Okay.
This Slapp law that they've, CNN hides behind, they use the word racist now. Okay, everything is racist, and so they get on a horse and they beat it till it's dead and its legs are off, and they keep beating the corpse, and so they've got this. They try to pull up this Slapp law, which is Slapp stands for, and it's SLAPP in all caps. It's actually stands for Strategic Lawsuit Against Public Participation. And what it is that if somebody comes in and tries to stop you from saying something that you have a constitutional right to say, then you bring a Slapp lawsuit against them. And usually you win because so much speech anymore, geez, oh, Pete, we've let our speech thing go off a slippery slope, and it's so much protected. Well, the federal judges are starting to rein it back in, and CNN tried to use the anti-Slapp defense, and the federal judge said, I'm not having any of that. You guys lied, and you guys were derelict in your duties, that all you had to do was, do any research, and you would know what you were saying wasn't true. And so I don't think that the opinion went so far as to say they intentionally did it, but they did it with, I think it was a reckless disregard, which is malice. And so, news broadcasts, they have a higher standard, which, CNN lost a long time ago.
So what would you say? I actually had a lawyer, and I'm trying to find his tweet. I get so many tweets now that I just lose everything on Twitter. But I had a lawyer last night say that this is going to be probably a losing case, because it doesn't. You won't be able to connect the actual assaults all the way back to CNN, because you got these people who are assaulting other people on the ground, and there's not a tangible connection between the assailant and CNN.
Well, I don't think we have.
Find his tweet number, find his tweet address, and tweet back and say your information's wrong.
Oh wait, I think I may have just found it.
Tell him his information's wrong, but that Joni may be blonde, but she's got that covered.
Well, let me ask you this, Joni. I kind of think that you're not going after CNN for the violence, more so going after CNN, because I've got a handful of sound bites and montages from this week alone of CNN lying and just fabricating out of whole cloth issues. The whole thing this week about Donald Trump's health and even his fit to serve as president. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
We are now, the new catchphrase is that all of the Trump supporters are suffering from some type of dementia that somehow we must have caught, kind of like, what was that movie Aaron Brockovich was in when everybody, was like affected by the water or something?
No, it was living underneath power lines and everybody's getting cancer.
Well, that's the new thing, is that we all must have dementia or some type of mental illness.
Right. Well, I found that thread from this lawyer. His name is Penguin Bum on Twitter. So
I'm sure he's great, and he is right that there has to be causal connection.
Well, I'll read it to you, and let's just and I actually responded once, and so here's what he said. I realize the burden of proof is lower in civil cases, but linking CNN to quote direct violence is a real stretch. If that is the case, there isn't one. And I responded, there's lots of proof that CNN has falsely accused millions of Trump voters of being Nazis in a world where assaulting Nazis is celebrated. And then he responds, I understand your point, but unless you can prove that X assaulted Y because of what they heard on CNN, Y would have a tough time suing CNN. Incidentally, I'm not a big fan of CNN, but one defense is that X was not watching CNN when those statements were made.
Okay. Well, first of all, I would love to have him on every case against me from now on out in my career, because I would send the penguin back to Alaska if he thinks that is the law. But he does have some credibility there. What you have to do is you have to show a causal connection, but it's much larger than that. I've already have spoken personally to 3 people that have been assaulted, and one of them, actually the guy that assaulted them, gave a written statement that he got the idea, wrote this down, from watching Don Lemon on CNN. I've got it.
Oh, wow, that's a big one. That's a big one.
That's not only causal connection, but you have to understand that you don't have to, when you're an accomplice to somebody, when you are a car driver sitting outside the bank and, they get busted in there, you don't have to show that you drove away the car. What we just have to show on CNN is they're creating an atmosphere, but also it goes a lot deeper than that, guys. This is not only a assault on American citizens. When you really, and this case is going to get much more serious even than that, they are really trying to take over our government. And it's really, it's a crazy case for the things that I'm finding out. But with all due respect to Penguin Man,
it's not Penguin Man, it's Penguin Bum.
Oh, Penguin Bum. I love it when I have naysayers on the other side of my cases, because then it just is extra bittersweet when I, come out with a verdict. But, I'm not promising any verdict in this case because it is a tough case, but we got a darn good one.
I think it's good because I didn't even think about it until you just described it there. But why would somebody who assaults somebody else have to have been proven that they even watch CNN when CNN's big enough that they, like you said, can create the atmosphere? So maybe X assaults Y, and we're trying to make the case it's because X is being influenced by CNN. It's possible, in my mind, that X never watched CNN, but that CNN created this environment where it's become an accepted policy to punch Nazis. And when people start to repeat what they hear on CNN, which is that all Trump supporters are Nazis, therefore you can punch all Trump supporters, you don't even have to have watched CNN. You could have just heard it from the mob who are all being influenced by CNN collectively, because a large portion of them may have gotten this from CNN.
Carrie, and I'm sorry, it even goes deeper than that. CNN is... It looks like that if we keep going, that we may be able to find the connection that the person that is finances a lot of CNN, and that they are connected with the people that are being bussed in. So you want to talk about a connection? Forget their broadcast. They're saying, let's just say examples. They're saying all people with pink sweaters on, kill them. Then they are bussing in people. And their whole target of these people they're bussing in is to kill people with pink sweaters. So you talk
it's direct. It's absolutely direct.
It may be a direct connection and not just a causal connection.
Okay, well, I've got this one for you. Let's go back to Charlottesville, because that was kind of popular again this week. The media doesn't want to let it go. Media, I think, it's personal opinion here. I think the media believes there's more teeth in the Nazi, racist, bigot, homophobe than the Russia. So I think that's why they're sticking with Charlottesville. But I digress. at Charlottesville, you had the KKK that did their march. They normally they always do their march. This is just what it is. Apparently, we're finding out information that one of the guys that that headed up this group for the KKK to be there, he petitioned it, he set it all up, is part of, or was at one time, paid for as an employee at CNN.
There you go.
Okay, so we've got the Antifa and then the white supremacists. They both show up in two different buses. The buses pull up back to back. The doors open. Antifa goes around the building one way, and white nationalists go around the building the other way and meet the KKK in the middle. While the entire time, the assignment editor, Jason Kessler,
we know about him, don't we?
Yeah, he used to work for CNN. He's the one that headed up this thing in Charlottesville.
I know.
So if CNN has anything whatsoever, that would be a slam dunk if we can prove that. Now, it's anecdotal evidence right now, but I think that we can connect the dots and absolutely show this.
Well, that's what happens when you get in court. Then you start being able to do discovery, and you get people under depositions, and then it starts unwinding, kind of like this thing with Debbie Wasserman is doing, and Clinton. You start, Comey what started it, and that's what happens in a court case, and it takes you down a road that you didn't think you were going down. However, the Southern Poverty and Law Center, they are the main organization that CNN in cahoots with, and they are the ones that put out these hate apps and everything. I want to ask you guys quickly, did you guys hear about exactly what happened in Charlottesville to lead up to this rally being there? Did you understand that?
Yeah, it's, Jason Kessler, who is not a conservative and not a Republican by far. If you look at all his tweets and some of the things he's said in the past, he hates the NRA. He's definitely against free speech. Just a lot of these things that he hates, yet he comes up with a group called Unite the Right.
Yes, clearly a big,
like a white supremacist type thing. They had the permit. The permit was then taken away and revoked. But
it came anyway.
It came back anyway. There were, at one point in time, before the two buses showed up, at one point in time, there were 2-to-1 first responders to the actual people who showed up to do the silent or the non-violent protest of the Confederate statue.
Right, but I mean, even before then, did you? The town had voted on it, and they won. The town won 80% to 20% to leave the statutes up. Okay. And then the city council overruled the people.
Because the city council, the mayor and the vice mayor and the governor of are all three of them tied, deep ties to the Clintons, deep ties to Obama and John Podesta.
And so they thought that this would be the perfect thing because the city, the people that, voted, they said, no, we voted 80, and you guys are supposed to represent us, and yet you've overturned us, and you're going to take down the statute. And, and I don't know this from here on out, but, the governor was probably on the phone going, hey, man, this is going to be great for to show, these people want a peaceful protest out here. Bring in the radicals. So, they call up they
call up Soros and say, hey, Soros, remember those 2 Greyhound buses you got loaded already with $1,500 a week protesters? Yeah, send them out, man. We're ready to go. The candle is lit.
Soros wasn't working that day. I think Van Jones answered the phone.
Oh, my goodness. I believe it. Oh,
wow.
My gosh.
So, that's really interesting. I didn't know that aspect of it. But that certainly sheds a whole lot more light onto Charlottesville.
This thing is so fake. It's so incredibly fake.
Completely manufactured.
But the big thing is that CNN, they're using this as one of their many, many tools to coerce people to assault Trump supporters. And I'm hoping that Joni Turner here, who we have, that's who you're listening to right now, is
Where can I follow Joni at?
Yeah, it's at Joni Turner Law, JoniTurner LAW. Right?
That's right, on Twitter. And
on Twitter.
Our if you would like to become part of what may become the class action, if you just go to www.ourtakedown, and it's all one word or put together, OURTAKEDOWN and .com. And guys, it's just bare bones. This thing has hit us so fast that we're pedaling just to keep our heads above water.
Try DM me or Brian, or you could try to DM Joni, but she might be swamped right now. If you want to try to volunteer or help or anything like that, we could try to make that work depending on your expertise and ability to help and all this kind of stuff. But one thing I want to reiterate and go back, I'm kind of backtrack a little bit here because I think it's really important. If you really feel passionate about this, and you also have these reservations, which I totally understand, where they're asking for a lot of personal information in order for your signature to be legally counted as part of the class action lawsuit, I'm pretty sure Joni would tell you that this information is strictly for the purpose of convincing the judge that this is a legitimate signature. This is not like we're selling your personal information in order to sell it to companies and stuff like that.
No. I have a duty, Carrie. And not only do I have a duty to protect that information, I'm not really their lawyer yet, but also if somebody would break into a lawyer office computer, it carries a lot more, weight of penalty.
Oh, wow.
And so, but I do understand that people don't want to give out their phone numbers. I definitely understand that. But in order to have a legitimate class of people, we have to know that they are legitimate people.
Yeah, and also, I didn't mean to cut Brian off, but we are going to talk to can we discuss this about the difference between signing up on this website and then signing into the real form that's going to be presented to the judge? Because Joni and I are going to be talking to an IT guy who's going to set up the secure form for the legitimate legal signatures that'll be used for the class action lawsuit. So by Thursday, hopefully, because you're going to be on Your Voice America on Thursday, that this will be all ready to go so that you could have legal signatures being put up. The one thing I can tell you is that this company does legal forms for the IRS, amongst other really big companies and government entities. So when it comes time to put in a lot of your personal information that's going to be required to make these legal signatures, you are absolutely going to be 100% protected, it seems like. So does that sound about right? I want to make sure I get that right. So signing up for it now is
preliminary. The first step.
That's the first step. But then after that, they're going to have to do an actual real legal signature online, which will be done using a company. We're actually going to farm this out, it looks like, where they will have legal signatures. There'll be more information than what we're asking for now.
There has to be, I have to give explanation, and we have to, there's a lot of stuff legally on my side that I have to do to bring this together as a legal suit. Mm-hmm. As I said, I'm not their attorney yet. What I am is actually right now just an American citizen that is going to head this up and get them, get us into court. Right. But we right now are, there's not a legal action yet, but we have got a really, really great start on one. But there is more to come.
People are really fired up.
Well,
oh my gosh.
Right. And when we talked earlier today, we talked about a lot of different things. And I wrote some of the notes down. A couple other questions real quick, and we're going to get into the numbers. There's a lot of people on Periscope right now. There lots of hearts, lots of thumbs up. A lot of people saying, I just signed up. Again, ourtakedown.com. Folks, go there. Help us help America. Help us help Trump. Make America great again. And
real quick, the Facebook page. Joni set up a Facebook.
Okay, I'm not there yet.
Okay, sorry.
And send CNN a cease and desist message. Let them know that we're not playing anymore, folks. You can't go around calling average American people, even if you're Charles Barkley, you can't go around calling people racist, bigot, sexist, homophobe, white supremacists when we're not. So Joni's got a Facebook page up too for more information.
Hey guys, that Facebook page really it doesn't have a lot of information right now.
It's brand new.
We will hire someone that's going to take over, the media and getting that out. But it's at the same thing. It's at our takedown on Facebook.
Awesome.
And they're just all connected right now. And we're just getting people in place to run them.
So Facebook.com/our takedown. If you're on Facebook, and I apologize, folks, Facebook just didn't seem to work very well for the show. And I know people have been asking, where you been? You're not on Facebook. I'll check it more often, but I did I almost said retweet. I did share. I shared this on Facebook, and I'm trying to be a little bit more active on that. But you're listening to Joni Turner at Joni Turner Law on Twitter, whose Twitter account is absolutely blowing through the roof. Tons and tons of followers, lots of good, positive praise for this movement that you've started, Joni. Let's get in.
Guys, I hate it that they call them followers. I wish we could just have Twitter call them, fellow citizens.
Oh, no, that's for the replacement social media network that's going to replace Twitter because of their maltreatment of their customers. So
that's a whole nother thing.
We'll call it a fellow citizen on the replacement social network, but that's a whole different story.
So a couple of the questions that we had. Now you're talking about sign-ups and people signing up, going to the website and signing up. How many sign-ups do you need? I know you talked about this last week. What is the number that you need for sign-ups on the website?
Well, a class action can be, now don't quote me on this, but I think it can be even as little as 5 people.
Okay.
But for me to get a separate small office up and running and to get the people in there, we need 200,000 signatures.
Oh, wow. Okay. So initially, I was under the impression that we needed at least 5,000, but 5,000 was your goal for you to personally say, okay, I'm going to take this on because there's a following for this. There's a demand.
Yeah, the 5,000 and what it was is I just said, if we get 5,000, I promise you then I'll take an initial action. And the initial action was just I'm writing the cease and desist letter and letting them know that we do not have a lawsuit against them yet. And any cease and desist letter, that is written, you usually never have a lawsuit yet. But you just tell them that if they keep doing a certain activity, if they don't stop it, which is cease and desist, that there's going to be a lawsuit coming. And so since I had promised the people that if I got 5,000, well, by the time I was off Periscope, we had over that.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my gosh. So I went ahead and wrote the cease and desist letter, which I shared on my Periscope, which we'll be sending out on Wednesday.
Okay. So earlier this week, you started getting out the signatures. Carrie and I signed up. All of our friends signed up. Everybody we knew started signing up. You hit 5,000 with no problem.
Yes.
Fast forward just a couple of days. I want you guys to get excited about this. This is really, really exciting because fast forward just a couple of days, and where are we at now, Joni?
Well, you know what? I don't think I can look because I got you on my Skype and on my phone, and that's where I have to go to look at.
Well, you don't have to be watching on Periscope since you're actually being interviewed right now. So
I like to watch you guys talk to me.
You're so cute. I love you too.
Somewhere, if I had to guess, I think that we're pushing 15,000.
Right. So earlier today when we talked and you did have some numbers, you were around
Yes.
10 to 13,000.
Yes.
And now we're probably close to 15,000. Folks, I'm serious. You need to get excited about this. This is the real deal. This is really going down. Just a couple of days into this, 15,000 signatures on the way to 200,000. That's no joke. We need to send CNN a message. We need to send all of mainstream media. They've got to know the people won't be silent anymore, and this is what it's all about. And by doing this, we literally, I hear people calling in Rush all the time and calling in Glenn Beck, what can I do? I want to help. What can I do?
This is it.
This is what you do.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly, Joni.
100%.
So one other, maybe another quick question. Somebody had this that kind of came up. What about CNN's First Amendment right to free speech?
That is probably the most comments that I have been asked about.
Really? Okay.
About, is this not trying to limit, free speech? Well, the bottom line is, first of all, just because, I've always said this to my clients, just because you can do something, first of all, doesn't mean it's morally right or you should do it. And second of all, free speech, that doesn't mean it's speech without consequences, right. Okay? You can say whatever you want, but there are consequences to your speech. And there are certain people that have a heightened duty to kind of censor more themselves of what they say, especially when they hold themselves out to be a news organization. Because when people say that it's the news, they are thinking that the anchor or the reporter or the journalist is an invisible entity, and the facts are just flowing through them to the people. Okay,
right. Mm-hmm.
Now, yeah. Well, we know that is not it.
Not with CNN.
No, CNN have lost their way, and there's even some. There are some FCC rules that they are really, really violating. And even though the FCC usually doesn't cover cable, there are some rules that do, and those will be brought into the suit also. But I don't want to limit at all. Like I said, I would CNN get on there and build homage to Obama and burn incense 24/7 at his feet, sing praises, do whatever you want.
Kumbaya.
But you got to tell the truth.
Well, yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
When you look at the news that is coming out against Trump, we're talking 90% negative
Lies,
news.
Not just negative. Negative is something maybe that is not flattering. But when you make it up, oh my heck.
Well, I was going to ask you, does the Mars Candy Company have the right to say something's peanut free when it's loaded with peanuts?
No.
It's false advertisement.
Oh my God, they would have wrongful death suits galore. There's so many Americans that have peanut allergies.
Yes.
You can't say something about your product.
Does Mars say that?
No, they're not allowed to. I'm saying that CNN is full of nuts.
Joni sees another angle.
I'm so upset. Okay.
CNN is so full of nuts. So the point is that it's my understanding that freedom of speech would not protect a company from false advertisement.
Oh, yeah. No, that's the problem. People have taken freedom of speech. Like for instance, and I'd like to give this example. Do you think for 1 minute our forefathers created our freedom of religion and they had in their mind, oh, okay, so we're going to open our doors and allow somebody's religion to kill Americans. And just because it's their religion, we're going to allow it to exist in America.
Right, they wouldn't.
No, because you know what? Only idiots would think that.
A lot of people don't know about the history of the Mormons. Back in the day, they allowed polygamy, and they did not want polygamy in the United States at all. And it's why Utah was one of the very last states to be allowed in the Union, because Utah, Salt Lake City and all that was where all the Mormons were. And they tried to become a state in the United States, and they kept on getting rejected because they allowed polygamy there. And so it ended up getting to the point where the only way they would allow them in is if they abolished the polygamy, and that was a big part of how Utah became a state. So what you're saying is absolutely right. And that's a peaceful, it's just a cultural thing that they didn't allow that, but with freedom of religion, where you have a religion that's allowing for the killing of Americans, right? They wouldn't allow that.
Hold on, and let me pull back. Somebody on Periscope said you can't yell fire in a crowded theater.
We've actually argued against that.
I love bringing this up,
you can, but it's going to cost you.
Yeah. Hey, can you not pay taxes? Yeah, you can not pay taxes if you don't want to, but you saw what happened to Willie Nelson.
Oh, and Wesley Snipes.
Wesley Snipes,
yeah,
I mean, you can.
Hey, so going back to Utah, though, I barrel race out there a lot, because I was trying to get on the professional tour for barrel racing. And there's a lot of, the whole barrel racing and the professional rodeo circuit goes through Utah and that. And trust me, there are more Mormons out there and polygamy. If you were a single guy, man, that's where I'd be headed.
Oh, my goodness.
You can have forgivematch.com or that other thing that you click right
Oh,
or
my
left.
goodness.
You go to Utah, you can have yourself like 9 or 10 wives. You don't even have to blow yourself up wherever they're getting to have all those virgins.
The 72
Go to
virgins.
Utah.
Well, and the thing is they had to pretty much pledge that they weren't doing that in order for them to be allowed into the United States at the time. But yeah, they were being put off for many, many, many years, decades, where they were requesting. People don't realize that they had such a large population in the Salt Lake City area, that they were one of the first Western areas or territories that were requesting to become a state, and they were one of the last ones that were granted statehood. And it was because the rest of the country was like, oh my gosh, we can't allow a religion that just has open legal polygamy. We're just not going to allow that. And so that went on and on for years. And so
and
a little history.
Gary, you know what? That's great information. And I don't even know that I knew that.
Yeah, they're one of the last ones.
I'm going to ask you, probably laws in America at that time were only one spouse. You know what I mean?
Probably. Yeah, probably.
And so that's basically the bottom line, is you can't come in and create a religion, because I think that somebody came in and tried to say that they serve the god a pot. Like,
and we smoke weed every day in our church, so it's got to be legal.
Well, they put the kibosh on that real quick.
Well, and we have to say this because Brian probably doesn't realize. Brian's not saying that he actually smokes pot in church.
Oh, did that come off
that
way?
Yes, that sounded like you were telling everybody you smoke pot in church. No, Brian does not do that. Brian doesn't do drugs. But just
I know it. Yeah, I mean, there are states now, of course, California and Colorado, and is it legal? Is it legal now in Ohio?
No, I don't think it is. They may have did some decriminalization.
It's on the edge,
right?
It really is teetering. Next time around, it will probably go medical. I don't know. Anyways, so I digress.
We got off on a tangent there, but
so check this out. You're listening to Joni Turner at Joni Turner Law on Twitter. There's Facebook page, facebook.com/our takedown.
Yeah, it's a page. It's a page.
Go to right now, folks. And I know a lot of people that are putting up there right now on Periscope. They just signed up. I already signed up. I'm back. I did this.
Bunch of people.
Go to ourtakedown.com and just sign up real quick. Say you're going to be a part of this class action lawsuit, and you won't stand for it. You won't take the fake news anymore, the fake news media. Now, we talked earlier today. There was one other thing that you and I were talking about, Joni, about Google and CNN. And I mentioned to you, and if you've been listening for a long time, you may or may not remember when I played this sound clip. I still can't find it on my hard drive. I might have to look somewhere else. But Ana Navarro, out of New Mexico, she was at a hotel with a bunch of friends getting drunk and partying. They called the cops on her. And she called 911 and said, "Do you know who I am?
Do you know who I am?
I'm the mayor, the governor." I don't remember even what her position was. But she now has retired and become an official spokesperson or a consultant for the GOP at CNN.
Yeah, right.
Well, you can't.
That's the biggest fake I've ever seen.
Right, and you can't find any of her information that's negative like that on the Google. And you're saying that you've seen similar instances where the Google will clean up for CNN.
Oh, so many times in just the last 4 days, because usually I'll let somebody else do my case law research and that sort of thing. But I have been really active 24/7, not sleeping. And you go on CNN and you cannot, it is like you have to dig. I couldn't even find this case, a $30 million case against CNN. You don't think that I would be blasting that all over if I were Fox News? I've not heard a thing about it. It's because they bury it so deep on Google, because you know who owns Google. Listen, it all goes back. Ted Turner has a lot to do with, and Zuckerberg, and then all of these guys are hooked together. Right. And it's not like they even, I mean, they put these stories so far back, and then anything about Trump, if you even put anything about CNN and Trump, it is totally degrading for Trump, and nothing about CNN. You know what I mean? It is like one big planned. It's one big planned takedown, guys.
Yeah, it's totally corrupt. Here's a question I have for you. Why CNN? Because, we've been covering fake news for a long time. We may have been one of the first ones to ring the alarm bells about fake news, because up until we stumbled upon it, we were just kind of like, oh, well, this particular thing's a lie, or this particular thing's a lie, or this is untrue and whatnot. And I was just kind of surgically going after things that aren't accurate. And it wasn't until the Washington Post came out and had a big, giant expose about Russia's involvement with the election that I realized that this entire article is an attempt to create a completely fake narrative. And so it seemed like fake news was born at that moment. So why CNN, when a lot of times CNN is literally just reporting what they've read on the New York Times or the Washington Post or stuff like that.
They're like regurgitating it.
Yeah, I almost feel like you can almost go after damn near any liberal news outlet, not just...
You could, but I'll tell you what, they aren't regurgitating. They know those writers very well. But to answer your question in short, I'm sorry, that's Lily.
I'm like, man, I don't have a dog.
To answer your question in short, it's almost like all the other ones, like MSNBC, they're so cartoonish. They tell you who they are. You know what I mean?
Right. Because they used to have Keith Olbermann as the face of that network, which was a big joke.
Who's now in his mom's basement.
Yes. But, the bottom line is really MSNBC tells you who they are. We hate Trump. We think he's this. And so... actually, nobody even takes them serious unless really you need a good laugh. But what CNN is doing is CNN is now not just lying to us; it's lying. It is acting like they're news and acting like they're reporting legitimate stories. Mm-hmm. And then they have turned not only lying to us, now they're lying about us.
That's the big distinction there, because when I read about Washington Post and their fake news articles and we proved it. We've had entire shows where we just destroy how much they're lying, but they never said punch Kerry in the face because he's a Nazi and we punch Nazis in the face. Right. Where CNN is basically saying that about a whole group of people, and they're falsely, dishonestly lumping people like me and Brian into the group of people who we should assault.
Carrie, they are looking at every single group, church meeting and everything. And if you even have a prayer group, if they find out about it, they're saying it's a group of white supremacists, and they're not only creating a targeted group, then they're paying to send the people in to assault them.
Oh my God.
I mean, it's like a whole, honestly, it is like the mafia. I really mean that, but even more dangerous, because at least the mafia, you're born as an enemy. These guys are creating American citizens and turning us into enemies.
This has got to be stopped. I so hope, and I'm sure I speak for everybody listening, that this has got to be done. This has got to be successful. We have to all work together. We have to all sign this thing, sign the long form that we're going to come out with, I guess, sometime this week. We're going to work on it Monday with the company, and then we got to get this thing up before Thursday, and everybody has to sign this.
And tell them, Carrie, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I guess I did, or I wouldn't.
No, go ahead.
Don't you love it when people do something, they're like, I didn't mean to do that. Well, yeah, you did, because you did it. I hate people that make excuses. I really do. But tell sure your audience knows that. Don't get overly, concerned. We will reach out to you. You know what I mean? We've got your emails. We'll do a huge email shoot, and we'll do everything that needs to be done.
Awesome. I can't wait. We've got to make this happen. And everybody who signs it, and everybody that listens to this show, or any one of Joni Turner's cast that she does, or scopes that she does on Periscope, you need to retweet that, share it everywhere. Go ahead and post it on your Facebook page, and urge everybody that's following you and everybody that's following you on on Facebook and every bit of social media out there to urge them to sign this and to get them to understand if they're worried about putting their personal information up there, that not only is Joni Turner a lawyer who's going to treat this as if it is her lawyerly duty to make sure that this stuff does not get disseminated, but also that the company that's going to be taking all this personal information actually does contract work for the IRS and other big companies whose security is of the utmost importance. So there'd be no worry whatsoever.
Isn't there a server in Clinton's bathroom?
I was going to ask, is it in a bathroom closet?
Listen to you guys. Listen to you guys killing me. Oh, my gosh. So don't worry about it. This is okay. So.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. And I tell you, I'll leave you guys with this. I feel like that it is like the Hoover Dam, like there's about a quarter hole that people are getting through. But I feel like the moment we hit Bill Mitchell or if we hit Hannity, or that the whole dam is going to break open.
Oh, yeah. Once Hannity first picks up this thing, it's going to take a life of its own. I mean, some of the other things in the past kind of golf, they didn't have a final they didn't have direction. They had a final outcome, if you will. This has direction.
There's focus.
Yeah,
there's focus.
Like a laser beam for one single thing.
That's exactly right. I'm laser beam focused on
right,
this.
For one single purpose, one single thing. You don't have, cooks in the broth type of thing where it spoils off. You've got a focused situation to where it's for the good of all American people to stop propaganda. I mean, it's bona fide 100% propaganda.
And violence.
It's triggered violence.
Yep.
It's triggered Antifa. It's triggered Democrat white supremacists and Democrat KKK as well.
This is a planned takedown and a planned assault on U.S. American conservative citizens. They want to wipe out our history. They want a clean, blank slate to take down our history, and they want to rewrite what the American people are about, and it's socialism. And listen, we have a duty to our country, to people that have given life for, to get active. Guys, the reason that we're in this place that we're in is because we've been a little lazy. We've been a little sleep at will as Americans. And
Sure.
this is not a dress rehearsal, guys. This is it. Donald Trump has 8 years. And 8 years might seem like a long time, but we've got, this ship is already taken off one in a direction. And not only do we have to turn the ship around, we have to make back all the ground that, when we're in the cabin, that happened.
No, you're absolutely right. And I also have slated to talk about in the show today with Gorka and everything that's going on. I'm telling you, the reason Gorka and Bannon had to do what they're doing. Got a sound by Gorka. They have to leave first because they can't get it done while being on the inside. That's how deep state this is. That's how awful this is. That's how their hands are so tied that Bannon and Gorka now going to Breitbart News in order to help Trump because they cannot be inside the office. That's a shame.
Oh, that's for sure. Listen, when you've got a cannon and artillery like Gorka, and what you do is you bring in the White House and you let them load up on bullets and their cannonballs, figure out, just stay here long enough to figure out who we got to shoot at. And then you keep your weapons in the office. You send them back to the battlefield.
Absolutely.
And it's so fun that the media is so stupid. They're like, oh, they're falling apart. No, you just don't know what's coming after you.
Mm-hmm.
No, the actress, I've lost my ever-loving mind, Pelosi. I believe she said this. She said, personnel change is worthless so long as President Trump continues to advance policies that disgrace our cherished American values.
I know.
I'm
you
like,
don't think
what
they're trying to take our government?
She's insane. These people really are insane.
I know. Really, they are. And you know what? It would be funny if it wasn't so dangerous. And I really mean that. It would be comical. If watching the other night during the hurricane, it would have been comical if I didn't have a gut check in my soul that it's on the surface, but it's so dangerous.
Right, because people have nefarious intentions. They're going all power and money, Democrats working together, CNN, MSNBC type thing. They want to turn this and flip this around. This great experiment that is America, that the government serves the people. They're flipping it around to where the people will become subservient to the government. That is the whole goal, folks, and
Absolutely.
we've got to stop that.
And I know I've got to go, but they set Obamacare up to fail right after Obama got out of office because that they knew the people would have nothing, that they would have to depend on the government.
Absolutely.
And he downgraded America so much. And last question, I know I'm not asking the question.
That's okay.
I like answering questions.
Have you guys even seen Obama around lately?
Oh, he's on vacation hanging out with Virgin King Mogul, the Virgin Mogul guy, the beautiful white-haired goatee on the
I don't even know.
boats and this. You know who I'm talking
I
about,
don't
right,
even
Joni?
know.
The spaceship that he's creating all the trips to outer space.
Bronson or Branson?
Charles Bronson.
No, not Charles. Bronson.
Is it Bronson? No. Charles Branson. It's Charles Branson. No, it's Charles.
Yeah, Charles Branson. Whatever. The guy that's always that's the records
Virgin
mobile.
Airlines.
Yeah, airlines.
Yeah,
he's going to Mars or something.
He's a beautiful.
He's from Mars. I think he's going home.
I'm telling you, and Obama's going to be right on that ship.
Oh, crazy. Joni, thank you so much for coming on the show. We absolutely appreciate it. I was so excited all day thinking about having you on. Folks, go to Twitter, go to your Twitter account at Joni Turner Law. I thank you very much on Periscope for posting up her and the website, ourtakedown.com. Go there, sign up. It's just a splash page. That's all, a landing page. That's all it's meant for. It's just to collect information, get this, get the lawsuit, get the ball on the road.
And Brian, you and Carrie have been just so instrumental. I just mean it. It had not been for you two. The grassroots of this would have never started. And if it's not for Smyth Radio, and how Carrie came together was.
Make sure you say that on Sean Hannity's show.
Say that on your voice video.
I know. I'm gonna tattoo it. I'm gonna tattoo it somewhere so it can be seen. But from the bottom of my heart. And I know it's for you too. Thank you guys, and just keep me. I really mean this. Please keep me in your prayers because
yeah, absolutely.
It's going to take a power beyond human that can really conquer this thing. And I just want to be used to somehow bring American citizens back to where they want to be.
Amen. I agree with that 100%.
Absolutely, 100%.
Thank you so much.
Everybody listening, I'm sure, is you in their prayers for sure.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night,
Have a good night.
You too, guys.
Woo.
Awesome sauce.
Man, if that doesn't get you fired up, I don't know what will. Yes. Honestly, if that doesn't
feels like it gives everybody a chance to actually make a difference. That was like one of the things before we started doing this show at all. It was kind of like, I feel like I'm just flailing in the wind, and what can I do? I can't do anything about it. Every 4 years, I put in my little insignificant vote that doesn't do anything for the presidential election. Maybe I'll show up to the midterms or whatnot, maybe even a primary. And I felt like that's all I could do. Now you can actually make a difference.
I can't tell you how many people I've heard call into local talk shows saying, man, I wish I could do something. I wish I could. Now's the time. If you ever felt like you wish you could do something, now is the time to get involved, to get on board. This is an absolute laser beam worthy cause to help Trump. If you ever wanted to help Trump, this is...
Or to help America.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and when I say help Trump, I mean it in a way to help Trump make America great again.
Right.
When he does what he does, I don't know anybody that I've ever read about. I don't know any leaders that I know of that would be able to do what Trump is doing now. Honest to God, I don't know. Has to be the power of God keeping that man sane. Seriously. But when he gets up on the stage and he says things like, I am your voice.
That was like the coolest line ever.
Then you've got to be on board to help him make America great again. This is our part. This is what we do, folks. This is what we do. And I know we were talking about the Charlottesville rally. CNN propaganda, and that's what this whole show pretty much is going to be about. CNN this past week wanted to revive and keep Charlottesville alive. They want to keep the racism alive. And I know it's old news to you. It's old news to me. We've pretty much debunked the entire thing. I mean, I literally, I don't know anymore. It was a little bit shocking that she told me that they already voted to keep the statue up. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Not surprised, though. Never let a crisis go to waste, and apparently those people...
I'm not surprised that it hasn't been widely reported.
Why would it be?
Yeah, I mean, flat out.
So I've got a montage. It's labeled CNN Propaganda Charlottesville Montage. Oh, the CNN... After Trump's rally this week, CNN did a 6-person panel. I don't know if any of you saw it.
Oh, I saw that. Did Mark Dice? Mark Dice covered it.
Mark Dice destroyed it. He wrecked it.
I shared it this morning, but oh my goodness, was it hilarious! I couldn't stop laughing.
Mark Dice, he's huge on Twitter, but bigger on
YouTube. He's got over 1 million subscribers on YouTube, which is really big for a conservative person.
For a conservative person to have 1 million subscribers on the YouTube and not be shut down,
right,
is insane. At Mark Dice, and if you run into him, say, "Hey, I heard you on Smyth Radio," he'll give you a discount on the shirt that he sells. The liberalism is a cure. There's a cure. Help cure liberalism, and it's a little ribbon like cancer.
Oh no!
It is so good.
So cure liberalism, or yeah.
So here's the montage of CNN after the Trump rally. They put the panel together. One black woman, one might be a Hispanic woman, a couple of guys,
and one guy that's got such a thick Southern accent with the flannel shirt.
He had the flannel. Mark Dice even referred to him as Flannel Man.
No, he called him a hick.
Oh, hick. And then there was an older white woman in the background. So it was kind of a mix of everything there. Okay, let's go on with the soundbite.
How many of you, show of hands, were troubled by the president's response to the violence in Charlottesville? None of you minded how President Trump responded. None of you minded how President Trump responded.
No. I didn't see anything wrong with it. I mean, he addressed a problem. I mean, let's face the reality. There are problems on both sides. The Antifa group, to me, is totally a very Stalinish kind of group.
How so?
If you're willing to set fires and burn places to the ground, that doesn't sound like a very peaceful group to me.
But they're
both the same evil.
The people that we claim, Black Lives Matter, the Antifa movement and so on, are interested in preserving the fabric of America.
I blame the government.
Okay, that was a professor that CNN had on as well, but that was a separate soundbite. But this is a whole montage, folks.
Why do you blame the governor or the government?
Isn't that funny that she said that? The black woman said, "I blame the government." The CNN person said, "Why do you blame the governor or the government?" What was that all about?
Well, I think she's trying to say that if you're a governor and you're being blamed for something, since you represent
So I'm looking too much into it. Okay.
It's just saying you're a representative of government.
For a white supremacist mowing down a crowd of people and killing someone.
Because they didn't protect the people that day. They came there to do battle with them.
So, real quick, that was the perfect answer, and I'll tell you why. There were reports, and maybe this is why she formulated that answer so eloquently. There were reports of New York City cops publicly stating, I can't believe that if it was our rally, if it was a rally on our streets in New York City, we wouldn't have let those two groups within eyesight of each other, let alone let some rogue vehicle near the crowd. So what she said, she may or may not have heard those actual quotes from the New York City police, but if she did, it makes sense why she would formulate that answer so concisely. They didn't protect the people. In that particular case, she's absolutely right. When you know that there's these two competing protests that actually hate each other so much, you know, the Antifa or counter-protesters to white supremacists, KKK, and Nazis are going to hate each other so much that they are going to probably get violent with each other.
The cops know this. The cops are that experienced. They know this. And it's shocking that, like you said, it's shocking that a police officer, I don't know how much they would have to get paid. Honestly, how much do you pay off unless the entire police department is corrupt and that's how that
they have to
down.
follow orders. Those beat cops, they got to follow orders.
So if you're in the middle of saving someone that's drowning and your chief says, drop her, we got to get out of here.
Your chief might say, you do not put yourself at risk of losing your life to save another, and say, no, you can't jump in there and stop you. You know, that's just one example. But they may say, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to set them up. This is how we're going to let them within eyesight and within contact with each other. You must stand down, and if you don't follow these orders, you're fired.
Wow. Somebody just put up on Periscope, said that we're not cops aren't going to stay silent much longer. I honestly believe that there was one cop who came out and voiced his opinion in Charlottesville and actually kind of exposed it all, saying that we were told to stand down. This is wrong. Should have never happened. So more and more stuff is coming out, but let's finish the soundbite.
Showed up with helmets, body armor, clubs. They showed up with balloons filled with urine.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about that. Dude,
there's certain things that I feel assault is a worthy response, and one of those is any kind of human
precious bodily fluid.
Any bodily fluids that are purposely placed on you. Purposely. I think I personally would probably respond violently. You spit on me, you throw urine on me, fecal matter, anything like that, purposely. Oh my gosh, I don't know if I could hold back from a violent response. I really, really, really don't think I could do it. I mean, especially when I see somebody do the really forceful spitting. Like the, just when that happens, I'm probably not going to be able to hold myself back.
Well, and when AIDS first came out, people would scream at the cops, "I got AIDS," and then spit on them.
When I see video of people being spat upon and they don't punch them in the nose as hard as they can, I don't know. I must be a weirdo. I must be a total weirdo.
Floyd Mayweather on them.
No, Floyd would do the little tap. Like, no, just kidding, just kidding. I'm a Floyd fan, so
let me say that I was in an instance where there was a situation and they pulled the hair out of my arm.
Okay.
And just knee-jerking reaction, just my first reaction, I handed them in the face.
I would allow for pulling out of arm hair or something like that. I might shove somebody for that. Maybe even if they grabbed a little bit of my hair, I might just kind of wrestle them down. You spit on me, and it's probably going to result in a broken nose or broken jaw.
That's going to be awful.
And if I miss you the first time, I'm going to chase you down until I get something in. Got to get something in.
Yep. If you're a first-timer, Carrie was in the Marine Corps, I was in the Air Force. This is Smyth Radio, Military Veteran Talk Radio, and our first hour was absolutely explosive. We had Joni Turner on, who talked to us about the class action lawsuit against CNN like a laser beam to take down fake news and show the mainstream media that we, the American people, are not playing around anymore. If you're a first-timer, thank you so much for finding us and coming on and listening to our Periscope. We're also live on Spreaker, 5 to 8 Eastern Sundays. Go to smithradio.info. That'll take you directly to the Spreaker page where we broadcast from, as well as our website, smithradio.com. There's a button in the upper right-hand corner that says iHeartRadio. Click on that, and you can listen to all our past shows on iHeartRadio. Follow us on Twitter at Smyth, S-M-Y-T-H. I saw a couple of people put up there S-M-I. It's not S-M-I-T-H.
S-M-Y.
S-M-Y-T-H.
And don't be like those bureaucrats that when I say it's Smith with a Y, they go, so wait. S-Y-M-T-H? S-Y-M. No, it's Smith. Smith.
Think of the word myth and then put an S on from it.
There you go. M-I-T-H.
No. Lord have mercy. And then my handle on Twitter is at Brian, B-R-I-A-N, P as in Paul, Smith, S-M-Y-T-H. And our Twitter accounts are going forward. They're blowing up. It carries over 10,000 headed.
13.
No way.
I just broke through 13.
Carrie on Smyth Radio on Twitter broke 13,000. I'm creeping up to 10,000. Please go to Twitter.
Yeah, we need Brian. This is a little inside baseball for you, but I think you'll like it anyway.
Yeah.
When I hit 10,000, my entire Twitter experience was obviously changed. My experience was totally changed. So you could have 9,500 and have one Twitter experience. As soon as you get over 10,000, whole different Twitter experience. You're subject to new algorithms. I don't know this for a fact. I'm just giving you anecdotal evidence of my own personal experience, and it is true. So I'm hoping that we can get Brian over 10,000 so that he could. You actually get a bigger footprint.
Right, and all our main goal, especially my main goal, our main goal here is to help make America great again, to get the word out about fake news. We don't get into this tit for tat. I don't get into the drama stuff on Twitter at all. It's just straight news. You'll get my opinion, but it's straight news. And I see that Robin Zims, on Periscope, she's trying to break 5,000. I'll give you a little secret. Y'all want to know a little secret? It's a lot of work to get more followers. But here's a little secret. A little secret I found. A little inside ball. If you set a time aside, say in the evening or in the morning, whenever time you've got time, set aside that time and put all notifications on all the famous people that you like to follow. So if you're a leftist, you might have Elizabeth Warren and Nancy Pelosi and
Yikes.
Hillary Clinton.
And Paul Ryan.
And Paul Ryan. But if you're a conservative, then you'll have the Trumpster, you'll have Paul Joseph Watson, you'll have us. And as soon as
Mark Dice, for sure.
Mark Dice, definitely. And James Woods. James Woods is probably one of the best one that I found to do this technique on. It's all legal. So as soon as they tweet out, you try and be at least the first one to comment back right away. And if you are, a lot of times they'll like it and reshare it. Once people start liking your comment, follow them immediately because they're live on Twitter and they'll probably see it. As well as the people that like the comment that I tweet out, follow all those people because they're live on Twitter as well. And most of the time, usually, they'll follow you back. Well, once that's done and you reach your limit and you can't follow anymore and Twitter says, okay, stop, time out, no more following. What I do is I wait a day, 24 hours, I wait a day, and there's all kinds of apps out there to do this, to monitor your followers on Twitter.
I use Crowdfire, but that's because it was recommended to me by Chris Melendez. If you know him, he's like Patriot 123 or something like that. New Media Patriot.
I've used a couple different ones.
But there are competitors that do a better job, or maybe you're more comfortable with the interface. But it allows you to unfollow inactive followers and also unfollow people who are not following you or have stopped following you.
Right.
And I do that even if their bio could say mega, #Trump, we love Trump, or Trump supporter from day one.
You gotta be careful; they're tricksters.
Well, no, I unfollow them because if they followed me and then subsequently unfollowed me, they're doing something wrong. They're just not doing Twitter right. And as far as I'm concerned, when I got to 5,000, you know about the 5,000 follower thing.
Right.
If you don't know, when you're following 5,000 people and you have less than 5,000 people following you, that's it. That's the cap. You cannot follow more than 5,000. So I followed 5,000 people and I only had like 4,000 or maybe less followers at the time. And I couldn't get any further. So I was like, what should I do? So I started just massively unfollowing anybody, regardless of who they were or what they claimed to be, who were not following me back.
Yes, this is my Twitter handle at Brian P. Smith.
Right.
And follow Carrie at Smyth Radio. You'll get all the late-breaking information. You can stay plugged into all the things that are going on, like with Joni Turner and this massive class action lawsuit. 200,000 signatures. I don't think it's going to be that hard. We're going to have to work at it, but we definitely need to get the word out.
It's got to go viral.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's got to go viral.
Exponentially viral, where people have to tweet it out and retweet it and share it as much as they can, probably on a daily basis, to make sure that we reach everybody. Because you know how it works. You might retweet somebody at 8 in the morning, and it might catch 10 people. But if you tweet it out at 5 in the afternoon, those 10 people that saw it in the morning won't see it. And a whole bunch of other people that didn't see it at all at 8 in the morning are going to see it. So definitely want to try different times of the day, maybe on different days. Share that as much as possible. We're talking about sharing the OurTakedown.com website so that people can get signed up. And then as soon as we message you to let you know that we have the long form signature thing that we will contact you with that, with the information you give us. And then you're going to have the legal signature secure, very, very, very secure, and we're going to present that, not we, but Joni. Joni's going to present that to the judge to get them to agree to let us do a class action lawsuit against CNN, which will be awesome because they deserve it and we deserve it. We deserve justice.
Yes, America absolutely deserves it. And now back to the show. We're listening to CNN fake news try and attempt to manipulate a panel of people to hate Trump. And obviously either the producer is trolling CNN and doesn't want to take it anymore, but they picked 6 Trump fans, apparently it looks like, or 6 people who love America and aren't putting up with CNN and their BS.
I think we're moving kind of further away from the point of what this conversation should be. What happened that day was a tragedy, and it should never have happened to begin with. No one here is supporting the neo-Nazis or the white supremacists, and that narrative is really negative. But what we are talking about is President Trump's response, and he stood in front of America and he condemned the violence that occurred that day.
You're talking about 300 or 400 people in Charlottesville.
Meaning the neo-Nazis.
Yeah. There's 60 million people voted for President Trump. Why don't we get our say? Those people aren't nothing. Y'all, Democrats have idiots, Republicans have idiots. But we're talking about us, the 60 million that's for Trump. We don't do stuff like that.
Why isn't it the easiest thing in the world for the president to say, neo-Nazis have no place in this country?
He did. He said it Monday. He didn't know the facts.
Because he just came out on TV.
Is the President of the United States a racist? Is he suffering from some kind of illness? Is he fit for office? And if he's unfit, then what? These are upsetting, polarizing questions. They're uncomfortable to ask.
I think, honestly, it's time for members of Congress and the cabinet especially to come to conclusions about this mountain of empirical evidence that the president is laboring under a mental impairment. Well, he is
laboring.
He's delusional. He's paranoid. He's not a well man.
I just find this extremely disturbing.
Are you questioning his fitness?
Yes, I do. I really question his ability to his fitness to be in this office, and I also am beginning to wonder about his motivation for it. Maybe he is looking for a way out.
Okay.
Maybe you're trying to put a couple of words together to make a full sentence.
I don't know. That's just terrible. So
that was Clapper.
Not the guy talking at the end.
Yeah, that was Clapper. Not Jake Tapper. That was
Clapper.
Obama's
Right.
Clapper, who lied under oath, lied to Congress, saying that Obama was not spying on the American people.
He looked like a victim of like a massive fire or something. He had not a single hair on his entire head, not even eyebrows.
Well, inside
and his eye was melted down his face a little bit.
Inside story I had heard from a guy who had heard from his girlfriend's friend that Clapper was on fire at one time and somebody attempted to put it out with an ice pick.
Oh, jeez. What? Oh, my gosh. Oh, what a visual Brian is able to spin there. Oh, Brian's breaking up now, Brian. Anyway, so he tried to put... Okay, so getting back to seriousness, folks. We joke. So I like the way the hick, as Mark Dice put it, was pointing out that the 60 million plus people voted for Donald Trump. And you're trying to show a couple dozen people. And I really do, unless you prove otherwise, I'm using the word dozen.
Right.
I'm not going to sit there and allow people to say, it's a couple thousand people or even a couple hundred people. I'm calling it a couple dozen people, one of which it has been proven is an FBI agent.
Right.
Because he got doxxed and his information sent back to the local FBI field office in Virginia.
Dude, that is just too...
And he was holding a Nazi flag that had creases in it that were so fresh that it looks like he just minutes earlier unfurled it from being in a wrapper from the store.
Right, but maybe the Walmarts down there sell them still.
But why would he have to go and buy one? If he's a Nazi, he would have these things already.
Oh, yeah, you would have your prized possession of the flag that you love the most.
No, maybe not, because you wouldn't want it burned.
Well,
like, you get assaulted.
You'd have that one up there, and then you'd have your traveling flag.
Certainly, he wouldn't have had...
Your battle flag.
Yeah, he certainly wouldn't have had this thing, or needed to purchase it, literally minutes before he shows up to this thing. It's just crazy. Or, honestly, he probably showed up dressed the way he was ordered to be dressed and then handed the flag by somebody else.
Right.
So, but anyway, the point is that these Nazis, or as they're calling them neo-Nazis, I think number in the dozens. Somebody pointed out, because I'm like, where do these people come from? There is a number of Nazis, and I would even call it a group of Nazis in prisons. You know, these are hardened criminals that are there for years on end, and there's a lot of racial tension inside of prisons. Why? Because it just so happens that prisons, and I'm sorry if this sounds a little prejudiced, but I think prisons tend to be populated with people who are probably on the lower IQ spectrum. So the odds of it becoming just divided by race and ignorance and all this kind of stuff, the percentage of that would be pretty high. So it wouldn't surprise me that you would have, segregation based on ignorance and all this kind of stuff. So you'd have these neo-Nazis, and if you're white, you might have to join the neo-Nazi group to protect you from the blacks.
Yeah,
and all
that's
this
the
kind
thing
of stuff.
too. They'll join these organizations for protection.
Right.
And you're right. I mean,
so it's possible,
right? A college graduate or a highly skilled individual,
or just somebody with a high IQ, whether you know that or not.
I mean, that you're either a benefit to society or you're not, and a lot of times education has a lot to do with that.
There you go. But the point is if you spent years and years in prison in a neo-Nazi group for protection, it's possible that when you finally get released from prison, that you would find refuge in the real world, in the free world, by joining some sort of a similar group outside of the prison. Do we have proof of this? Do we have evidence of this? I mean, in the movie...
Shawshank.
No, not Shawshank. American History X.
Ooh.
In American History
Dude,
X...
I was disturbed by that movie.
Yeah, so that they portrayed this giant neo-Nazi group, huge, like hundreds if not thousands of people would gather on a weekly basis, and they're all you couldn't even get in unless you were part of this white supremacist group. And they made it sound like that this is common in certain urban areas of the United States. That there happens, if you're white, you may be a part of one of these giant groups in these cities. And of course it's fiction. I don't know if there's any truth to what they were portraying in that movie, but they made it sound like in this movie that you're in these neo-Nazi groups, and when you get to prison, which he did because he murdered that guy by making him bite the curb and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so he murders this guy. He goes to prison for murder, and when he gets there, oh look, they're segregated, and there's the whites over here. Let's go join the whites, and he's got this giant swastika tattooed on his chest and all this kind of stuff. And so he fits right in with the neo-Nazis in the prison. But I think they portrayed it as the opposite of what it may be. And which is that I think that you get in these white supremacist groups in prison, and then it might possibly bleed over outside of the prison. In the movie, they made it sound like you're in white supremacist groups in the free world, and then if you get sent to prison, oh look, it bleeds over into prison too. So I think that the Hollywood portrays this purposely the wrong way. And by the way, American History X is a wet dream of leftism. They're trying to it's propaganda. It's total propaganda. There's his mother starts dating a Jewish man. Oh, yeah. And it turns into a big old, and by the way, the the Jewish guy is like this progressive, very tolerant guy. He's open-minded.
He's like a pajama boy growed up.
Oh, he's totally pajama boy. And then, of course, Edward Norton, being the white supremacist that he is, all of his ideological arguments were real hardcore right-wing, real conservative, real Republican-type stuff.
Which is not true.
Personal responsibility, freedom, and all this, whatever. And so the movie was total anti-conservative propaganda is what it was.
A question from Periscope. Is growed up English?
When you watch Smyth Radio, we're a little loose with the English language. We're very loose with the English language.
Yeah, and I we were talking earlier about the
fast
fight.
And loose.
We were talking about the fight earlier, and Swolled.
Oh, did you get rid of that article?
Why would I get rid of it?
Because I wanted to read it. I've got to read it on the air.
Which article?
The one where the 3 questions that the black community.
So you want to talk about the boxing match, or do you want to talk about Charles Barkley? That was Charles Barkley. We can do that.
Who wrote the article that said there's 3 questions that the black community have not gotten answers to?
Okay, here it is right here.
Let's try that first.
At The Root.
The Root.
At The Root.
All right, you got The Root.
And theroot.com.
So Brian's going to ask me the questions in the article because the black community has not received answers to these questions, and I'm going to attempt to answer them.
Somebody asked, why do you say black like that? I don't know. Black is black.
I don't know.
Okay,
say the word black. I don't know. Whatever.
Root.com, apparently run by a black extremist organization.
Is it? See, I don't know nothing about this the website at all.
They called Charles Barkley a black white supremacist. And he's back at it again.
You can't even avoid white supremacy even if you're black. How is this even possible?
Black white supremacist Charles Barkley is back at it again with eyebrow-raising comments.
Okay.
He's always eyebrow-raising. Anyway, so there are 3 questions for which black America has never received a satisfactory answer.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
Let's see if I can give him a satisfactory answer.
Question number 1. I got to stop looking at Periscope. You guys get ridiculous. Why is the word swole never mentioned in the list of great black inventions?
Inventions?
Inventions.
Or innovations?
Inventions.
Can you spell that word?
INVE.
No, the word that's in question. The word that's... Oh, my gosh.
Swole.
Yeah.
SWOLE.
Well, first of all, swole is not a product that could be invented. So I don't know why. What do you mean invented? That's my first. That demands a follow-up question. But swole is I didn't know the black community invented that word, but I understood it to mean that it's what you say when you're going to go work out at the gym, particularly lifting free weights.
Right. Well, you type in swole into Google and you come up with Rambo and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, so swole refers to the state of your body when you've been lifting weights, which is swole. Right. And sometimes if you're going to go out to the gym and lift weights, you would say, I finna get my swole on. That's...
Yes, that is the dumbest question ever. However, wait for the second one.
It gets better.
Okay. Here's the second one. Did we ever get a satisfactory answer?
We lost Brian. What?
So I'm back. I don't have the mute button.
Oh, okay.
Did we ever get a satisfactory answer to who in the hell left the gate open and why perchance was it the same or is it perchance the same person who let the dogs out?
This is a really dumb question because first of all, it doesn't. It's admitting that we may or may not be referring to the gate that let the dogs out. So what gate are we talking about here? So I think what they're trying to be a smart aleck and ask who let the dog out. Who let the dogs out?
So this is the website that's calling Charles Barkley a black white supremacist.
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and concede and say I don't think you're going to get a satisfactory answer to such a dumb question.
Okay, how about this? This is the last question. Talking about ignorance here, but here's the last question. Why won't Charles Barkley shut the boop up?
You mean STFU?
Yes. Why won't Charles Barkley STFU?
I don't think you're going to get a satisfactory answer out of me.
No.
So why would they ask that question now?
So here's Charles. This whole thing was incited. Because Charles Barkley can't shut up. No, you're right. Absolutely.
By the way, I don't know. You can't invent swole.
Right. Somebody found Charles Barkley at a swanky resort and stuck a microphone in his jaw, right up in his grill, and started asking him questions about tearing down the statues. All these statues tearing down in Charlottesville. So roll clip number 9
of the black white supremacist.
Black white supremacist, like you've never heard it before. I've never known a black white supremacist. Now, for the first time ever, folks, a black white supremacist.
Whatever happened to just calling them Uncle Tom? Now it's a black white supremacist. I mean, they called Clarence Thomas Uncle Tom.
Oh, and they called Larry Elder Uncle Tom too. But now they've taken it to a whole new level. Black white supremacist Charles Barkley.
I'm not going to waste my time worried about these Confederate statues. Yep. That's wasted energy.
Okay.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep doing great things. I'm going to keep trying to make a difference, number one, in the black community because I'm black, but also going to try to do good things in the world. I'm not going to waste my time screaming at a neo-Nazi who's going to hate me no matter what.
You got a good point.
And I'm not going to waste my time trying to worry about these statues they got all over the country.
So do you leave them up and ignore them? Or do you
I've always ignored them.
Will you lead them up and ignore them?
I'm 54 years old. I've never thought about those statues a day in my life. I think if you ask most black people, to be honest, they ain't thought a day in their life about those stupid statues. What we as black people need to do, we need to worry about getting our education. We need to stop killing each other. We need to try to find a way to have more economic opportunity and things like that.
Believe in capitalism.
Those things are important and significant. You know, I'm wasting time and energy screaming at a neo-Nazi or, man, you got to take this statue down.
No, he's absolutely right. How can you hate him for that? He's a little bit misguided on asking for help and what should we do? We got to come up with new ideas get more jobs. No, it's called
You got to talk slower if you're going to imitate him. He talks really slow, doesn't he?
I'm telling you.
I'm not going to waste my time. But anyway.
I'm not wasting that time at all.
About them daggone statues. So he makes a really good point. Nobody's ever... This is wagging the dog, right? These statues have been up forever, and now all of a sudden they're like, hey, we have our list of things where we're going to agitate the community, and we've gone through X, Y, Z, and now we're on bringing up statues of Confederate soldiers because they may or may not have owned slaves, which, by the way... Robert E. Lee never owned his own slaves.
Yes.
He had only been in charge of slaves for a short period, was it in-laws or something like that?
His wife inherited them, and by law, you couldn't get rid of them.
Yeah, so he ended up inheriting late in life, I believe.
George Washington did too, and it was by law, you could not get rid of them.
George Washington had like 300 slaves. He had a big, giant
he inherited a lot. He inherited a lot of them.
He's like one of the richest presidents we've ever had. They say he's richer than, if you do the inflation, is richer than Donald Trump. Yeah, but he was way more wealthy. But anyway, and then Thomas Jefferson was the one that inherited slaves. He was born into a slave household, so when he got of age, he inherited slaves.
Right.
But anyway, I agree with him that. Nobody cared about these stupid statues. He wants to make a positive difference in the world and for the black community, as he says, because he's black, is what is in his words, which I think is kind of odd. It's kind of to me that's odd. Like, I want to make a difference in the black community because I'm black.
It's borderline racist.
It's a little strange. Like, I don't think it would be appropriate for me to say that I want to go out and make a positive difference for the white community and then think about it for a second and say, because I'm white. That's
what whiteys do.
Yeah.
Weird.
It's weird. I just want to make the world better for everybody. And that includes all races and creeds, because as long as we're making capitalism stronger, freedom stronger, the Bill of Rights stronger, we're the Constitution stronger, and weakening all these tyrants that are trying to rule over us and trying to agitate the community into race wars and civil war too, I think we're making the world a better place.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yep. So there's
CNN sucks.
CNN sucks.
Hey, did you guys watch CNN this weekend?
CNN sucks.
Yeah, no, neither did I.
No, I cut the cable a long time ago.
So that was the bit on the Root, far leftist wing outlet. It's just absolute insanity to call other people names. Well, I mean, that's what the left does. I mean, they just call names.
Somebody said, imagine putting All in the Family on as a new show today. The problem is, the All in the Family was a way to show that old white men are bigots.
Right.
It wasn't real. It was a show.
Right.
But they were trying to make it sound like that, oh, this is typical. But I will have to admit, my grandma was my maternal grandmother, probably not my paternal grandmother. That would be our grandmother.
Right.
Brian and I share grandparents. We're cousins.
In a weird way.
In a not weird way.
Don't get weird on me, man.
Oh, my gosh. Anyway, my mother's mother, pretty openly racist. But, I guess back then in certain parts of the country, in certain areas, and we all were we were embarrassed by it, but it was almost like a thing to kind of laugh at when I was a kid. Like, oh, well, Grandma would say X, Y, or Z because that's.
I mean, it has nothing to do. I mean, we
laughed
saw
about
it. We laughed
it.
That ain't because that ain't us.
Right.
It never was.
That's
us.
why we laughed about it, because we were like, oh my gosh, can you believe she would say that? And it was like accepted amongst her group of peers back in the 40s and 50s and whatnot. So
right. And so I saw some people were asking about the Covfefe cup.
Oh, yeah.
If you're on Periscope, this is the Covfefe cup, the brand new, spanking new Covfefe cups.
Did you show the other side? I love it.
In the back.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do, this symbol has nothing to do with white supremacy at all. It's just the okay, meaning okay. Carrie's got a drinking problem, apparently. Did you get yours in the mail? Awesome. Joe Pappas got it in the mail. I sent him out last Wednesday.
Brian was like, these things are miniature. They're like doll cups. They're so small. They're not even a whole cup of coffee. I'm looking at it right now. I've had a lot of mugs in my time, coffee mugs. This is a whole full-size mug for a full-size cup of coffee. Brian is just used to the ginormous buckets masquerading as a cup of coffee.
If you guys have ever watched this long enough on Periscope, you've seen me drinking the white and yellow cup. It's
two cups of coffee. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so if you want to get your Covfefe cup, jump over real quick to patreon.com/Smyth Radio. You can see there where you can get your own Covfefe cup, as well as $1 will get you in the private group messaging.
Yep.
To where everybody can talk with us 24/7, and you can talk amongst each other, helping each other out, giving each other good ideas, and talking about different articles and titles that are coming up for the week, which actually comes to our show prep. So we look at what you guys are talking about. I find the things that are interesting, and I'm like, you know what? That's exactly what happened this week. That's exactly what went down. We need to talk about that and expose that. Just like my buddy, yours and mine, Mr. Sheriff Joe Arpaio. We talk about that one yet?
Yeah, let's talk about Joe. So Joe is he was in trouble because the left was going after him, saying he broke some laws, and they tried him.
Liberal judge indicted Joe for contempt of court for enforcing the law. So the judge told Joe Arpaio, you cannot profile, you cannot ask for citizenship, paperwork, document. I mean, just whatever the case may be.
He was just trying to uphold the law.
Right. And the judge said you're not allowed to do that. Joe continued to do that. This all started under Obama, by the way. As soon as Obama was did you mean the left had the problem? Yeah, the left has the problem. As soon as Obama won office in 2008, they went right after Eric Holder, everybody went right after Joe Arpaio to shut him down. And this is the result. 8 years later, Joe Arpaio convicted and apparently to go to jail.
Oh, yeah. He was actually threatened with jail time. Him and his wife were actually sending out emails to their email group of people that you could donate to their campaigns and all this kind of stuff. That please help us. We are facing jail time. And then his wife was like, my husband's facing jail time. So it was pretty scary because talk about an abortion of justice. I mean, if somebody who is in law enforcement is just enforcing the laws that are written on the books, and the courts are there to rule whether or not a law is unconstitutional or not. You can't try and convict a law enforcement person for enforcing a law that has not even been ruled unconstitutional.
Well, and the thing is that he was enforcing, because Obama called the stand down for law enforcement agencies to not enforce the border. Joe Arpaio said, okay, if the federal government, and this is a fact, folks, if the federal government is not going to follow its own laws to protecting Americans, which that's their job, is to protect us and keep us safe. If the federal government under Obama is not going to do their job, then Joe Arpaio is required, as a servant for the people, required to protect the people that he serves to. Why do you think he got reelected 6 times? That's not a coincidence.
Right.
He was not even allowed a jury of his peers. I don't know about that, but I don't remember a trial.
Yeah, and when you're an elected official, which a sheriff is an elected position. You have been elected by a jury of your peers. That's your support right there. So if there was ever anything that he did that would be abhorrent to the people that he represents, he would lose the election. He would lose. People would vote for whoever his running mate would be. So there's that to take into consideration. But yeah, I mean, he's just there to enforce the laws, and that's what he did. He was doing it on the up and up. It's legal. I don't know what they were trying to do. They were trying to throw other laws at him, that they were trying to say that he was. And do you think that the accusation that he was profiling had legitimacy? That he was trying to go after people because of their Mexican heritage or whatnot, and that you shouldn't be allowed to ask people for their ID.
Well, that's how old boy cleaned up New York City.
Yeah, but they weren't Mexicans up there.
Well, but I mean, he was going after whether it be people who looked.
You look suspicious. Look at the.
I mean, if they're driving around with a lowrider and Cheech and Chong is coming out the radio and they're smoking spleefs and they're causing problems.
I don't know, man.
The
truth of the matter is that, and one of our Patreon contributors pointed this out in the chat room. By the way, if you become a Patreon donor, you get to be in this little chat room with us all, and we could discuss this kind of stuff. One of them said that it's absolutely legal to ask people for their ID when you pull them over for whatever reason, especially for border enforcement.
Right.
And it's totally legal.
If you're in the state of Indiana, this is a fact. If you're in the state of Indiana and you're walking the streets and the cop comes up to you and says, hey, can I see some ID? If you have no ID on you and no money on you, they can arrest you for vagrancy.
Where at?
In the state of Indiana.
Really?
Yes.
Vagrancy?
Yes.
So you have to have an ID on you or money?
Yeah, if you have no money and no ID, you got a problem if you're in the state of Indiana.
That sounds so unconstitutional.
Can you tell us
Well, I don't know, but it is what it is. I'm just saying.
So Joe Arpaio was facing all this trouble. He was facing jail time, and Donald Trump goes and does a rally in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona.
Yep.
It was a big success. There were a lot of lies coming out of the fake news about the crowd size, which is funny because multiple times Right Side Broadcasting panned the crowd.
Mark Rich was pardoned.
Sorry. That's the soundbite for Opile.
Oh, okay. Brian's over here. You can turn the volume down for that. All right. So anyway, CNN, somebody reported on Twitter that CNN actually panned the crowd. And
wow.
So then they subsequently were reporting that the numbers were really, really low for the Trump rally.
Yeah, Trump said 15,000, and then somebody around Phoenix said, "Oh no, we're."
Oh, they were reporting that the fire department said it was about 4,000.
Oh, I thought they said 1,500.
Oh no, it was way more than that. I saw the video on Right Side Broadcasting. They panned the whole crowd, definitely in the thousands, not 1,500, thousands, many thousands. I don't know, because the size of the building, it's like Sharonville. I don't think you were at Sharonville.
No, I didn't go to Sharonville.
Okay, so Sharonville had this flat room. It wasn't an arena. And I didn't know this at the time, but the fire department will only allow a set number of people in the room. And that set number is actually smaller than the physical room that you have for more people. So there'll be, as people are pressing to the front to get a closer view, there's going to be a space behind the crowd. And you're not going to fill that because the fire department will not allow it. So I'm looking around Sharonville and I'm like, 5,000, 6,000 people maybe. And he gets up there on stage and he starts talking about how they couldn't fit everybody in this room. And I was like, oh gosh, this doesn't sound like real news. I wonder if Trump is lying.
Fake news?
And this is Trump talking. And he's like, so they had to let a bunch of people in the overflow room. And that's the second he said that, I thought, oh man.
However,
I don't think that's accurate. I don't know if there's any other rooms in here.
However, if you've ever been in a network marketing scam before, I mean a pyramid scam, doing a
multi-level marketing.
Multi-level hotel deal, and it's huge, widely popular, big league. They will have overflow rooms.
Well, check this out. I went home after the Sharonville Convention Center rally, and I'll be damned if he didn't do a shorter speech, in a separate room that looked jam-packed. They put a box on the ground, and he stood up on it with his microphone and addressed the crowd in some overflow room. So he was actually being completely honest and accurate. So look, people show up to these things. That gets really crowded. Everybody wants to see their president. Everybody wants to show support. So it was big. But anyway, apparently he alluded to pardoning Joe Arpaio, and he did. He pardoned him a couple days later at was it Friday? And he was pardoned right as the Hurricane Harvey was coming in, bearing down on Texas, and they were saying that he ordered, I think it was CNN said that Trump ordered in the hurricane to cover for his pardoning of
yes.
Something to that effect. Something to that effect. And that's CNN. They will go to great lengths to manufacture fake news. It's amazing the way they do that. So that's Joe Arpaio's pardon.
Here's Katie Pavlovich. And she is just a beautiful.
Thanks for the
blonde,
super hearts, guys. Thank you so much for the super hearts.
Yeah, no, definitely. She's a beautiful blonde, bombshell, conservative, intelligent woman, which means the left hates her. And we love her because she's awesome. She was on with Water's World.
Yeah. What's Jesse Waters?
Jesse. Yeah. Dude, Jesse at CPAC, he was a rock star. He was a rock star.
Well, and he knew how to work the crowd. He would do the power walk with the microphone in his hand, and then he had a guy with a $10,000 camera on his shoulder chasing after him. And when he walked, you had to jog to keep up with him.
Yeah, and
and the funny thing was he wasn't going anywhere.
And all those young kids,
they were like, "Oh my God, it's Jesse Waters!"
Yeah, that is.
Anyway.
So Jesse's got his own show. He had Katie on, and this is what Katie had to say.
Mark Rich was pardoned. I don't remember a lot of people being upset about that, especially because Mark Rich's wife donated to the Clinton Library.
Oh,
right. Well, hey, remember when Eric Holder was voted in criminal and civil contempt of Congress for running thousands of guns illegally to Mexico, which resulted in the murders of hundreds of Mexican citizens? Talk about discrimination, and the death of at least one Border Patrol agent. I remember that. And look, I come at this from a very personal standpoint. I lived in Arizona for the entire time when Joe Arpaio was sheriff of Maricopa County. I didn't live in his county, but illegal immigration affects every single county in Arizona. And I can tell you, I can count at least 10 people I know who were in car accidents with illegal immigrants driving without insurance, who were victims of crimes carried out by illegal immigrants. The reason why he had 6 terms as sheriff in that county is because he was doing something about illegal immigration and fighting for victims of crimes committed by illegals. So I understand that they've been trying to make this argument that he lost his election and therefore he's being discriminatory. But the reason why he was reelected so many times is because he was fighting for people who were victims of crimes, and he was cooperating with the federal government to get them off our streets while the Obama administration was releasing criminal aliens back onto them and into our community.
I mean, seriously, we were doing show prep, and I talked to Carrie about that. And what were the other things that popped into our mind that we talked about?
Oh, well, when it comes to the Fast and Furious, where Eric Holder was giving away all those weapons to the Mexican cartels and all these gangs and stuff like that who are running all the drugs, it just dawned on me. Well, besides the fact that it did actually cause the death of a Border Patrol agent, at least, and probably countless scores of Mexican citizens and maybe even American citizens in America, possibly, because these guns were going all over the place. I just remembered that the Paris attacks in November of 2015 at the Bataclan Theater, where they had the Eagles of Death metal concert, that some of the AK-47s that were used in this massacre were traced back to Eric Holder's Fast and Furious. Is that crazy or what? Unbelievable. The attackers killed 130 people there, 89 at the Bataclan Theater. Another 368 people were injured, almost 100 seriously. 7 of the attackers also died. Authorities continued to search for accomplices. Remember, they blew up a bunch of the accomplices at some apartment.
Right.
Oh no, I'm sorry. They blew themselves up. I'm sorry. That is. Remember that?
Right.
They were bearing down on them. They were out right outside their apartment complex, or their actual apartment, and then all of a sudden, a giant explosion. There were furniture flying out the window after this very massive explosion. So they blew themselves up, suicide style, when they finally came down on them. But they were able to do this suicide attack with some of the weapons that Eric Holder was purposely releasing to criminals in that Fast and Furious. And you're now saying that a pardon happened because of this? And now they're trying to criticize the Joe Arpaio, who I believe is an American hero.
Right. Absolutely.
That's what pardons are for. A pardon. This may be the one example of a pardon that our founding fathers had in mind. When you have somebody that's getting railroaded, which Joe Arpaio, Sheriff Arpaio, was being railroaded by a bunch of tyrants in government. In the judicial branch, they're throwing all this stuff at him. When the guy's an American hero, you have a good man in Donald Trump, in President Trump, who's doing the right thing, who has his heart in the right place, who's being an American patriot, and he sees somebody like Joe Arpaio being railroaded. That's what the pardon was originally intended to do for somebody in the higher power who was put there by the American people, who are concerned about the state of freedom and the state of our Constitution and the state of our Bill of Rights and the whole founding concept of the American way of life. We put him there. And you know what? He's doing with his power that we gave him what he's supposed to be doing, which is, at this point, pardoning an American hero.
Right. So apparently Doug Ducey is the current governor of Arizona. I don't know why, unless it doesn't say his. It didn't say who he belongs to.
No,
if it's Democrat or Republican.
Okay.
But my problem is, couldn't he have done something about this?
Interesting. Why did it require the president of the United States? Couldn't there? Maybe there were limits to what he could do compared to the president, whereas the president could just completely get out of jail free card you, just kind of chuck you out.
Oh, Doug Ducey's a Republican, supposed to be Republican Party.
Okay, I don't know why.
I just find it suspicious.
It's interesting. It's interesting.
So
who knows?
So what was the deal with Trump doing a pardon and making it official? Tranny ban
is
the
military
officially banned. Tranny ban. No, and we meant to talk about this when it first flared up.
Why does a flare up have to? Was it?
It's funny.
I don't know. I don't get it.
So when this flared up originally, it was in our rear window.
Oh my goodness!
But now it's taking center stage for us now.
All right.
So we're discussing it. The transgender ban in the military. What does that even? Why is that even carry? Why is that even an issue? Why would trannies want to go in the military? I would think that would be the last place they'd want to go because it's hard
maybe
work.
They want to serve their country and defend
Most trannies tend to lean liberal and hate war.
Well, I was a liberal when I joined the military.
Were you a tranny?
Well, no, I wasn't.
Are you now?
No, I'm not a tranny right now.
But talk about the scope that
Lucian Wintrich, which by the way, I guess I must have had him on. Maybe it could be that Jack Posobiec retweeted him or something like that, and it ended up in my timeline somehow. But so Lucian Wintrich, who doesn't have very many scopes, was scoping. And he was scoping right after the initial tranny ban thing. Not this recent one that happened this week, but the initial announcement of the tranny ban.
The one that was in the back window.
Yeah, back there. Wow, there's some. It sounds like somebody's raising scaffolding.
Yeah, they're raising scaffolding at my house. Apparently, they're removing a wall.
So yeah, okay. I don't want to get sidetracked, but wow, it's starting to get really. So anyway, sounds like the construction workers are getting closer. So I don't know if we're going to make it through this scope.
The wall's coming down.
Yeah. So Lucian Wintrich is having this scope, and I said, I'm gonna watch it. So I start watching it. And he talks about all the trannies that he knows. Apparently, he is in tune with the tranny community because Lucian Wintrich, he's not a tranny himself, but he's in the gay community, so he has that connection with the LGBT community. So he knows a lot of trannies. Apparently, I didn't even know there were a lot of trannies to be known, but apparently he knows them. So he said that it is common practice for trannies, and by the way, tranny is not a condition. It means that you're transitioning from one gender to another, and that requires medical assistance.
Some people think it's a mental condition.
Well, no, you can be gay, or you could say, well, I feel like a woman even though I'm a man, but you're not truly a tranny until you're making a transition.
Oh, the tranny part is that you're in transition.
Yeah, so you're trans. They used to call it transvestite, trans whatever. But you're transitioning from male to female, and that requires medical assistance. You don't transition from a man to a woman unless you go under a knife.
Right.
I mean, you could do it yourself, and that would save some money, but you would end up in the emergency room anyway.
Oh, the old boy from Wu-Tang Clan jumped out the window high on PCP, cut his own his own genitals off, jumped out the window, started running. Cops caught him. They caught up with his genitalia and they sewed it back on.
Really?
PCP, somebody referenced the article, PCP, Wu-Tang Clan guy, jumped out the window and PCP cut his genitals off.
Was he a tranny? I guess he was at that point.
He forced himself into transition.
Okay, so Lucian then said, okay, because of the fact that you need this medical procedure as a tranny, that it costs a lot of money and you need to raise the money. And so what happens is most of them will go into prostitution in order to pay for it.
Because they really have to have the surgery.
Well, yeah, you're not a tranny unless you're going through the medical procedure, and it's expensive. Because Obama allowed for trannies to go through this medical procedure paid for by the government, trannies decided, well, why go through prostitution? Why not just join the military?
Join the military. As soon as you get in, I guess apparently you say, I need to start training. I need to start training a tranny.
Well, Obama made it so that you could actually enter stating that you're a tranny. You don't have to wait until you're in. You can just say, I'm a tranny and I want to join the military.
So you never go to basic training?
Well, you would have to do that, yeah.
Then after that, then start the procedures.
Or maybe even right before you go in. I don't know.
And then the government pays for it wholeheartedly. And that's
it could take a long time.
Right, and that's the whole reason we brought this up. You go through the transition for a year or so and not even be fit to serve in the military. It's a nightmare, causing the military and the government millions and millions of taxpayer dollars.
And I don't want to speak for Lucian, but Lucian made it sound like he was with Trump on the ban. But I asked him, what do you think of it? And he wouldn't answer it. So for whatever reason, he wouldn't answer it. But just the way, if you read into the context of the entire scope, and by the way, if you know Lucian, he works for Jim Hoft for Gateway Pundit. So he's definitely a Trump supporter, 100%. I mean, I met him at both the Deplorable Bull Moose and actually New Media Gala. So I got a chance to meet him at those places. And yeah, he's a big-time Trump supporter, so it doesn't surprise me if he were to just flat out say, oh yeah, I'm with Trump on the tranny ban. But he was making the case.
Yeah, and we were hanging out with Lucian. I can definitely vouch for the guy.
Yeah.
Nice guy, cool guy, probably do anything for you, help you out, whatever.
He's really, really nice. And he was the one that was assaulted by John Decker.
From Fox News.
I'm not sure if he's with Fox News or was with him at the time, but he was a White House correspondent for somebody. And in the White House briefing room, he walks up to Lucian, grabs him by the arm and starts shaking him and basically saying, what the hell are you doing in here? You shouldn't be in here. You're a hack. Get out of here. And yeah, it's crazy. I can't believe that John Decker wasn't actually arrested right there for assault. But I digress. The point is, it sounds like Lucian was trying to make the argument for not allowing trannies in support of Donald Trump's ban, even though he wouldn't actually say it. So I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it sounded like he was making the defense of Donald Trump's tranny ban. And right, why are we spending hundreds of thousands of dollars for each individual?
Millions of dollars in totality.
Oh, it'd be millions and millions.
Are you talking about it's same thing that we talk about when we talk about Planned Parenthood? It's really unplanned Parenthood and tax dollars killing, murdering babies and causing genocide. Taxpayer dollars?
Yeah.
There's something wrong with that.
Murder babies on your own dime.
Right. Don't murder them with my money.
Right. So 100%. It all makes sense. If you're a transition person, I just did a politically correct name for a tranny, which would be a person under transition of gender. I said janitor. You're a janitor. You're whatever. So, yeah, you shouldn't be using military dollars for this.
No, and certainly I saw somebody on Periscope just put up, said, I don't feel like we're winning. Cheer me up, folks, today. No.
What? How are we losing?
Guys, I'm telling you right now, we are so winning. We're winning with Covfefe cups. We're winning with Joni Turner. at Joni Turner Law.
Did something happen that would lead one to believe that we're losing? Joe Arpaio was attacked by the tyranny. He's saved. He's saved by Donald Trump. Are we talking about, maybe they're talking about Gorka. Let's cheer him up about Gorka.
Okay, hold on real quick. Before this, I got a soundbite. This is mainstream media montage having to do with Donald Trump invoking a hurricane. Invoking a hurricane.
It was that scene where he put the hand on the glowing ball and he asked for a hurricane.
Yes. Invoked the hurricane so that he could get his pardon through and nobody would see it.
Yeah.
And then also do a tranny ban and nobody would see that either. So he slipped it in. No, I'm serious. Here's the soundbite. So you gotta be kidding. I'm not kidding.
Opportunity to enforce the law again.
Well, let's talk about what we know. The former sheriff was found guilty of criminal contempt for disregarding a...
You know, Brian Stelter, we were talking about the notion of a Friday night news dump. Traditionally, when you talk about that, you think people are trying to hide information, try to reduce the coverage of it. So is it that, or is this the president trying to hijack the coverage of the hurricane?
It feels like the opposite of a news dump, meaning try to hide something. The president seems to want the attention on these stories and not on that hurricane on the other side of your screen. Just to be clear, 100...
Yes, he said that.
He's trying to get the news media on. He's trying to hide the hurricane coverage?
Yeah.
He's trying to hide the hurricane coverage.
Yeah.
By dumping all these high-profile things on top of the hurricane coverage.
Yeah.
So he could hide the hurricane coverage. This is ridiculous.
Somebody...
So are we to believe that Donald Trump secretly summons the hurricane and he's trying to hide that by doing a dock dump on top of it?
Yeah, pretty much.
What
this is all CNN, folks. This is CNN. Somebody just said God is making them nuts.
There you go.
Driving them nuts.
Driving them nuts.
30-mile-per-hour winds will take down houses. There will be massive storm surge into Port Lavaca and Rockport in the next couple of hours. We're talking about thousands of people who, if they're still in their homes, need to be in bathtubs with a mattress on top of them. It's a Category 4 hurricane. And I know FEMA has said they're ready. I know the Department of Homeland Security has said that it's ready. The president has tweeted the right things earlier in the day about the storm as it's gained strength. But he does seem to be trying to make other headlines for some reason.
And hopefully the president won't be tweeting about fake news as much as many Americans will be relying on the news.
Did you hear that story? Did you hear that one? Guys, you're going to crack up when you hear this.
I mean, we're winning. We're winning because they're getting stupider.
So fake news, I think it was MSNBC.
It was MSNBC.
Okay, so MSNBC complained that it's dangerous for Donald Trump to call them fake news because people are relying on good and accurate reporting about the hurricane because it could save lives. Why are you blaming Trump for that? You need to blame yourself. You made all this fake news. You report things that are false as if they were not false. Donald Trump is not he's not the disease. He's not the cause of the disease. He's just this. He ends up being the symptom, I guess. Maybe that's a bad analogy.
He's the cure.
He is the cure. But what I'm saying is when he calls you, he's the doctor. You're blaming the doctor for your cancer diagnosis. Donald Trump comes out and diagnoses you with cancer because he finds cancer on you. And you are saying, daggone it, people don't want to have cancer. Why do you have to say that you have cancer? You have cancer. Don't blame the doctor for diagnosing you. You have cancer. He didn't give you cancer. He didn't make you smoke the cigarettes and give you lung cancer. You smoked cigarettes. You got cancer, and he diagnoses you, and that's that. Stop blaming the doctor for it. So in this case, they're blaming Donald Trump for people not believing them. What caused people to not believe them was the fake news that they were reporting. And now they're trying to say that it might be Donald Trump's fault that people would die because they have nowhere to rely on real news about the hurricane coverage. You are actually, for smart people out there are now recognizing that your reporting is now costing lives because your reporting has exposed yourselves as liars. You are liars. We caught you in lying, and now that people are relying on you for the truth and that it might cost lives, your lies are now costing lives. And you're trying to say, well, it's Trump. It's Trump. They're calling us fake news. He's just Trump is telling the truth. He's saying an accurate statement. You are liars. You are fake news.
Dr. Trump curing liberalism one fake news media at a time.
Yeah. You know what needs to happen? What needs to happen is that these people need to get off the air. They need to be taken off the air, whether it's through the FCC or a combination of the FCC and Joni Turner, who's going to sue CNN into oblivion, hopefully sending a strong message to CNN or MSNBC to stop lying, and the Washington Post and New York Times to stop lying, because your lies can end up turning into libel.
Yes, and when they do,
it's going to cost you money.
$500 million, $500 million.
I'd love to see that,
dude. $500 million.
And you know what? It should cost them $500 million, because how many plaintiffs have been affected? 60 million?
No, 320 million, the entire population
right.
of America.
If you're subject, can we do a class action on this? If you are subject to a hurricane in which the only place where you can rely on accurate reporting is CNN and MSNBC, who have completely discredited themselves, and now you're like, well, I can't trust them, and then you end up dead, or you end up maimed or heavily injured, because you can't even rely on accurate reporting from these people. I mean, couldn't they be liable for that?
They're selling a product.
Maybe I'm stretching, but isn't it true?
They're selling a product. The product is news.
Right.
And their product is information that should be that is beneficial
and relied on.
CNN, most relied news network.
Oh my gosh, I feel like we need to sue them right now.
I'm talking about suits. Yeah. Anyhow, okay, so what's that MSN and the hurricane with Trump? It's just mind-boggling, right? It's mind-boggling. CNN, MSNBC. Okay, so now since we're winning there, Dr. Trump curing liberalism.
Not curing, just diagnosing it.
Oh, he's the doctor who diagnosed liberalism. Let's man,
Joni's the cure.
Yes,
Joni's going to cure fake news. That is for sure.
Gorka,
disease.
Sebastian Gorka.
So everybody's worried about Sebastian Gorka, and you know, you can lump Bannon in this too.
Yeah, this should be a Gorka banning team.
I got a little bit of insider info and breaking news for you.
Did you tell me yet? Is this breaking for me too?
It might be breaking for you too. Bannon was, in fact, and we've heard this from Scaramucci, but we weren't sure if he was just trolling or whatever. But Bannon was actually a leaker. And I didn't know this. If I had known this earlier, I might have reported this to you before. But Bannon was, in fact, leaking out of the Oval Office
to
the media. Well, and to Mike Cernovich.
Oh,
yeah. I have been informed that Mike Cernovich had this is a long time ago. Long time ago, I was informed that Mike Cernovich had an actual source in the White House. And I assumed it wouldn't have been Bannon, because it doesn't make any sense.
Well, Bannon's longtime friends with Trump, though.
Well, so we thought. It turns out there's other sources that are now telling me that Donald Trump and Bannon did not know each other until the Republican convention.
Oh, for crap's sake.
But that they had become instantly very, very close. They had great chemistry, and they become very close friends, which is why Trump ended up bringing him into the White House, into the inner circle.
So why would Bannon risk all that? What's the purpose? What do you gain?
It turns out that, and I'm speculating based on actual facts that I do know, but this is the conclusion. The conclusion is that Bannon was so concerned about Trump's decision-making based on people who were pulling strings from places that he didn't like, that Bannon didn't like.
Right.
That he decided to ring the alarm bell by telling Mike Cernovich that he's been told that 150,000 troops were going to be placed in Syria. That was fake. That was given to Bannon.
Absolutely fake. Yeah.
Yeah. They were trying to color the water. Which, by the way, I'll rehash this really quick so you guys, in case there's new viewers to Smyth Radio.
Oh, we got a lot of new viewers tonight. Thank you, folks.
Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Coloring the water, and I'm not going to steal this from Tim Pool. Tim Pool has a video, beautiful video, showing what coloring the water is. So he showed 4 cups, Dixie cups, that were full of water on a tray. And underneath the tray, or underneath the cups on the tray, it was wet. So we know there's a leak. But we don't know which of those 4 cups is leaking. So what Tim Pool did was he put a different colored dye in every one of the 4 cups. And what color showed up under the cups, now we know which cup was leaking. And you can remove that cup because it's leaking. So that's what coloring the water means. What you're doing is you're giving different information to different groups of people, and whichever one of those information went to the public, now you know which group is leaking.
Right, the colored one. I'm just messing with you, folks.
Oh my God! So yeah, the color of whatever. You got me all flustered now. So Bannon was given fake information, which was 150,000 troops. That was then leaked to Mike Cernovich, and then Mike Cernovich posted it as breaking news, and he freaked out about it. Well, the reason Bannon would have leaked this to him is because he was so concerned about it being real that he wanted to give it to the public by going through Mike Cernovich and having Mike Cernovich break the news. So he didn't have as much power as a lot of people thought, because Bannon could have said, Mr. President Trump, please do not do this. Do not do this. And if you do this, this is going to be a huge mistake. He couldn't convince him otherwise, but it turns out it was totally fake, which was So instead of trusting Trump or whatever, he freaked out so much by it, he decided to go public with it. So now I'm starting to think that, and by the way, at the time that this happened, we all knew what Mike Cernovich published, which was the 150,000 troops.
Right.
And I knew that he had a real source in the White House. It was told to me that source was eliminated. I believe the word used was eliminated. That's why I never believed that Bannon was Mike Cernovich's source, because we know he wasn't eliminated. What I just found out yesterday was that instead of being eliminated, it was a slap on the wrist for Bannon.
Okay.
Presumably, the slap on the wrist, it was such a minor punishment that I have no other reason to believe that he really was close friends with Trump, so that the punishment was only slap on the wrist instead of you're fired, get the hell out of here right now. Because me personally, holy crap, that's a nasty leak. That's a I don't trust you leak.
So then Bannon was allowed to stay.
Yes, but he was cut off from everything, which is why
he said, I've got to resign because I can do a better job.
But that was months later. Like the 150,000 troops thing happened way long time ago.
Right.
So Bannon was given the slap on the wrist, and that was it. Cernovich was cut off from that source. But the reason I thought that I never knew that Bannon was his source was because I assumed that he got cut off because the person leaking was fired. But no, it turns out it was a slap on the wrist, and that no more information was then relayed from Bannon to Cernovich at that point, and that Cernovich would have had to get his news from a different source and whatnot. But I'm going to tell you right now, that's a pretty nasty leak to do to Donald Trump. Like, hey, we're ringing the alarm bells on a decision Trump's going to make. We're going to release this to Mike Cernovich, and then so that the public knows about it.
Damn, that's hardcore.
That's hardcore. Right. So that's kind of breaking news. I've had to conclude this based on facts. It's not like this entire story was relayed to me directly. It's a conclusion that I'm drawing based on all the facts that I do know, which is that we knew that Mike Cernovich had a source, and that it had been cut off. And then Scaramucci says, well, he's the leaker. And now we're finding out from another – this is kind of a fact that it really was Bannon that was the source for Mike Cernovich.
I don't know. Somebody just asked I don't know if that's ask or a statement. Gorka's resignation letter, very nasty. No, I don't.
Nasty towards Trump or nasty about what? Bannon, when he left, he said – I'm going to fight for the Trump administration, or I should say Donald Trump and the Trump movement from the outside, from the globalists and all this that are surrounding him. So you're going to see some nastiness. But my understanding about Gorka is that all of his attacks were against the people that are around Trump and not attacking Trump directly. So there's this belief between Bannon and between Gorka that Trump is being surrounded by people who are trying to undermine his campaign promises and all this kind of stuff, and the Trump movement in general. And I don't discount that, but here's the thing. There's a difference between these two camps of Trump supporters. And the difference is these two camps. One camp is like, okay, Trump is being attacked by these liberal progressive forces that are surrounding him. You got the deep state. You got these appointments like Reince Priebus, who was eventually fired, and all this, who are clearly not looking out for the best interests of the voters who voted for Trump, who are a part of the Trump movement. And then you have this other side of the Trump camp, that's like this trust Trump camp. I'm in the trust Trump camp, and I'll tell you why. If you look at all of the results, the actual decisions of actual things that happened. I'm not talking about, I think I heard that Trump made a decision on something. I'm talking about what we know physically happened in the decision-making process. What we find is that Donald Trump is on track. Totally on track.
Absolutely.
He is making decisions that are based on his campaign promises. He's been undermined by liberals in the Republican Party in Congress.
Right.
Deep state people are fighting furiously. They are committing felonies to fight him, but they're not influencing him. Sure, these people should be fired. They should actually be arrested. When they're committing felonies in order to undermine Trump, they should be not only fired but then arrested. And only one person so far has been arrested, and that was that Happy Gilmore woman, whatever. I can never remember her name. It's like Holiday Madonna or something. What the hell is that girl's name again? The cute little social justice warrior with the tattoos and blonde girl. Who remembers what her name is?
I know. Sounds pretty cute.
She's kind of a cutie, but she's in prison right now because of leaking. She was leaking documents or whatever. Oh, Reality Winner.
How do you forget that name?
Because every time I'm thinking, for some reason, the word holiday goes in my brain.
Thank you for that, guys.
Reality Winner. I was waiting for somebody to say it. So Reality Winner is the only person that's been arrested. And she's like bottom level deep state. I'm talking entry level, like you can't get lower than her. She's not above anybody in the deep state. She's at the bottom. So she gets arrested. There's all kinds of top-level deep state people that should be absolutely in hardcore breaking big rocks into little rocks and little rocks into littler rocks prison. Right. That kind of prison.
Right.
And it's just not happening. Those people absolutely need to start getting arrested and all that.
And I've got a soundbite with Gorka. Gorka he did his first interview afterwards. He did this about 24 hours ago with Sirius XM Politics. Didn't know there was such thing, but okay. In his first post-White House interview, Sebastian Gorka denies that he was fired, says he will be far more effective.
Yeah, don't believe the fake news that he's been fired.
Far more effective on the outside. This is Gorka himself speaking on radio.
Can you tell us the circumstances that led to your decision to resign? Obviously, your resignation letter is making the rounds, or parts of it online, and it's a pretty bold resignation letter. Can you tell us what led to your decision to do that?
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. So the President of the United States ran a campaign on a very simple platform. It was like Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan said, we're going to rebuild the economy, we're going to defeat the Soviet Union, and we're going to make Americans proud to be Americans again. The president, our current president, did the same thing. He said, I'm going to fix the economy, build the wall, and defeat ISIS. That's MAGA. That's what making America great again really means. And unfortunately, I don't want to go into the palace intrigue stuff. We've had too much of that. But the fact is, the forces of MAGA, the Make America Great Again faces, the policy people like Steve Bannon, my old boss inside the White House, have been systematically undermined, many of them fired from the NSC. And I realize after the president's speech this week on Afghanistan that he is not being well served. That speech was written by people for the president in direct contravention of everything that we voted for on November the 8th. It is not clear why we're in Afghanistan. It doesn't explain why we're going to continue to potentially expend American lives and American money in that nation. And the most important thing, Matt, it didn't mention once the phrase radical Islam or radical Islamic terrorism. Just think back to how massive a difference that is to the speech the president gave to the joint session of Congress at the beginning of the year. So I decided that just as with Steve, we can be far more effective for the president on the outside, and it's a very exciting day for me and my family to start again supporting the MAGA message as private citizens.
There you go. He's going to Breitbart News along with Steve Bannon.
Oh, did he say he was actually going to Breitbart?
Yeah, they're going to Breitbart. Both of them going to Breitbart.
And he said, just like Steve, he's going to be far more effective outside the White House. Somebody just put up on the comments section of the Periscope that you're fearing that the wrong people are taking over the White House. You can't forget that the decisions have to be made, for the most part, the big decisions are going to be made by the president. So I don't think that there's going to be a problem there. Just remember this. All the results that happen by decision-making out of the Oval Office, all the actual results-oriented decisions and actions that we can say happened from the Trump administration are all consistent with the campaign that he ran on. All the campaign promises, his platform, and so all the other stuff, like Gorka said, the palace intrigue stuff, is all. To be honest with you, it looks like it's designed to be a distraction, and so that's why I really wouldn't worry about it yet. I haven't seen anything come out that basically would lead me to believe that that the wrong people have taken over the White House or even beginning to take it over. Let me put it to you this way. This is a good one, and especially you'll get the point if you listen to my last scope just the other day. I think it was 2 days ago I did a scope that talked about this directly. Look at what he said in the first speech about right after Charlottesville, and then the follow-up with the 16-minute Q&A. If he was really being adversely influenced by the wrong people, there's no way he would have said the things that he did and answered the questions in the Q&A the way he did. He's still Donald Trump, the same one that we know and love and that we voted for. Nothing seems to have changed at all. So all the things that we hear or see being reported that leads us to believe that he's lost his way or that the wrong people have influence over him are not real actions. They're literally speculation that makes it seem like it's possible that he's being influenced the wrong way. But when you see the actual things that happen, the decisions and the things that he says himself in these speeches and the things that he tweets out, come to find out, I mean, really, you got to read between those lines. He's in control. He's in 100% control, and he's not going to allow somebody to come along and influence Trump into doing something or making a decision that flies in the face of the campaign promises that he made.
Not only that, folks, but seriously, you got to realize, and we say this all the time on the show, you got to realize what a leader Donald Trump is, to be able to do what he's done in his life, as well as to do this with the campaign. Only a true bona fide leader, an outsider, to win it like he did, like never before. I'm serious, folks. You've got to trust in Trump. If he comes out and says something wrong or he does something wrong, we'll definitely criticize him.
Right.
And we'll say, hey, I don't think that's right. Just like he said, there were both sides in Charlottesville, which is not true. There's only one side in Charlottesville. That's the left, the evil KKK, white supremacists, and anti-fascists, Antifa, all left-wingers.
They're all Democrats.
All Democrats.
Right.
And we called that out. But the whole thing is, folks, is that we are going in the right direction. Trump is doing things, and the silent things that they're not reporting, like all the regulations that are being ripped out.
There's all kinds
you
of great
don't
stuff.
know.
The economy.
Telling you, give it one this time next year. Kerry, this time next year, mark my words. This country will be going in a direction that will blow the minds of everybody because it'll be so much better, so much what the engine will be running so much stronger. I'm telling you, all those regulations that stifle businesses that are being removed, that have been removed, it's just an incredible time. I'm really, really excited about what's to come. So don't be nervous about that, folks. Seriously, don't be nervous about that at all.
There's a guy that I used to follow. I still subscribe to him on YouTube. His name's Lee Doran, and he hasn't made a video in a really long time, like since before Donald Trump ran, I think, or something like that. And he's got a channel on YouTube called How the World Works.
Okay.
And he was great. He had all these awesome videos about conservatism, defense of conservatism, and a lot of times he was responding to the current events of the day. And so he was great, but he hasn't did anything in a long time. And he just came out with a video last night for the first time in like 10 months. And he said, this thing that's happening in Venezuela, I predicted it. Go back and listen to what I said about Venezuela. I said as soon as they start putting price fixes on food, where it costs more money to produce the food than they can sell it for legally, because they'll put a regulation saying you can't sell lettuce for more than a quarter.
Right, because nobody can afford $1 head of lettuce.
Right, but it costs you 75 cents to produce that lettuce. People are going to stop producing the lettuce, or they're going to lose all their money if they try to produce the lettuce, and they're going to have these massive food shortages. And it sounded kind of apocalyptic, and it seemed a little crazy.
McDonald's had to pull out because they couldn't afford lettuce.
Right, so it turns out that Lee Dorn was exactly right. And so
you got an apocalyptic world down there in Venezuela.
Right, on the same note of Lee Dorn coming out and doing an unfortunate victory lap on such a tragedy, because he just flat out said it, and he was flat out right, and everybody thought he was crazy, and he was dead on right. For Brian here to predict a year from now, what was the prediction? A year from now?
Oh, that the economy is going to be rip-roaring and raring. I'm telling you.
It's going to be like Lee Doran.
It's going to be frustrating, though, because you're going to see these Republicans possibly being reelected and not replaced because things are going to be so damn good. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, that's just what we got to take right now.
A lot of time the incumbent, no matter who it is, right or left, ends up benefiting from the economy blowing up. But I thought of, when you said, I predict a year from now you watch economy's going to be blowing up, it reminded me of Lee Doran saying, guys, I warned you about Venezuela. It's going to be the same thing with Brian, because Brian knows you hack away at these regulations and you really embrace the free market capitalism and get the government the hell out of the way, and you lower taxes like we've spoke about for years now. All of a sudden you get the government out of the way, and Brian's making a very conservative, very easy to make prediction of it a year from now, it being total gangbusters. And I'm telling you, these things you could predict. Lee Dorn predicting what happened in Venezuela over a year ago. Boom, he comes out with a video yesterday saying, look, I predicted I was dead on right. Brian predicting a year from now. You watch, we'll come back to this. A year from now, we'll say, look what Brian said a year ago. And it's not that complicated to predict these things when you have socialism at work or when you have capitalism, free market capitalism at work. You can make these predictions. It's like, so let it be written, so let it be done, chiseled in stone, and it goes back thousands of years.
And when you got, and there's one instance I'm thinking of in particular, when you've got the EPA literally becoming a mob, like a gangster type organization that rules over the people with an iron hand, you got a lot of problems. You got a lot of businesses. A lot of people don't want to do anything. There was a man out in the Midwest that got local permits and did all everything he was supposed to do and dug a pond, watering hole, a pond for whatever it be, for his farm, for his animals, for his crops. If you ever grow tobacco, you need a huge lake because tobacco takes an extreme amount of water. You have to water it. So you got to get permits to build a lake. Guy got the permit, got the lake built. All of a sudden, somebody caught wind. The EPA caught wind of it. A local city said it's all good. EPA, federal government, came in and said, no, you got to fill that thing back up. You got to go drain it and fill it in. Come on, man. What are we talking about here? It's counterproductive.
I know. It's like a big waste of labor. If you know how labor and wealth works, it's hand in hand. It's all the same thing. Property, labor, wealth, all the same thing. Money, whatever. And yeah, to do all that work and then have to be beholden to a government regulation to redo the labor is just a big drain on wealth in general. Not just for you, the person that dug that out, but anybody that you might spend that money on afterwards. That's money that they lost, that you could have went out and bought a boat and pay for the company that manufactured it and all the employees that they employ. You know, I mean, it's a loss. It's a total loss, and it was done at the hand of government regulations and laws.
And you got to strip those regulations out. You have to. The more, if you think of regulation, if you associate it with a law or a rule, the more rules and more laws we have, the worse it is for businesses, worse it is for capitalism. It stifles everything, and things fall apart. So that the Trump rally, where Trump this week got everybody fired up all over again, people are saying it's one of the best speeches that he gave in Phoenix, off the cuff. A day before reporting on this was Politico, who said, GOP Republicans walking on eggshells. Reportedly, Trump may go off script.
Everybody loves it when he goes off script.
Everybody but the GOP, apparently, according to Politico.
And who knows? Politico has a lot of fake news. I would almost go so far as to say that you've got to consider them actual fake news. Not just that they have a lot of fake news, but that they are, in general, fake news. That
Right.
If it says Politico, it's probably fake.
So here's CNN on the Trump rally. I don't have any show notes on it, so we'll just take it as it comes. And can we?
It's terrible. I mean, it's someone is going to do something awful to a journalist.
Oh, okay. Now I know what the soundbite is. Hold on.
Okay. Oh, set that up a little better.
To me, the CNN head legal analysis guy, like he's the head guy. Toomey.
Pat Toomey?
Yeah. Is it Pat?
Oh, there is a Pat Toomey, senator for Pennsylvania.
No.
Oh, it's somebody different. How many Toomeys are there?
Yeah, this guy's a Toomey.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
CNN chief legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin.
Oh, Toobin. See, that's why you got to do it.
So sorry.
Oh my goodness.
He is upset about the Trump rally. I mean, thoroughly upset.
It's terrible. I mean, someone is going to do something awful to a journalist. I mean, I feel for our colleagues who are sitting there as people yell and boo and chant CNN sucks. I mean, this is a very near to a violent situation right now. And if something violent happens, he's going to say, oh, well, I never told anyone to commit violence. This is very clear incitement. But he's doing it knowingly. CNN sucks. CNN sucks.
So if he's saying that, and this is an employee of CNN,
right?
He's admitting that they know what their fake news and false accusations of Trump supporters being Nazis, knowing full well that it is a well-known phenomenon that you're allowed to punch a Nazi, you're allowed to
because that's what they've been saying. Yeah,
he's admitting that he knows that that's going to cause violence.
Right.
Because he's admitting he's saying that he thinks that when Trump says that CNN sucks and CNN's bad and all these people are liars, he's worried about violence coming upon him because Trump is bad-mouthing him. Using projection.
But that's exactly what I was going to say.
Using projection as a guide, it would not be a stretch to say that he then knows. He knows that his reporting, his company's reporting, is going to bring violence upon innocent, not just Nazis, but innocent people, because they're calling innocent people who are not Nazis and not white supremacists and not KKK, that they are Nazis and
Correct.
they are, and that violence will come upon them because of that. He is admitting that is a very real possibility. We need to alert Joni of this statement.
I'm telling you, she's listening now. Folks, we've got a huge, massive, you just joined the show, huge, massive class action lawsuit, up to 200,000 people and Americans involved in this class action lawsuit against fake news CNN. Stay tuned. Follow Smyth Radio at SMYTH Radio. Follow Brian P. Smith, and also follow Joni Turner, Joni Turner Law, LAW, on Twitter.
Yep.
Because this is going to be our win. This will be where we stab the beast, if you will.
Right.
Metaphorically, not physically. We're not violent here.
That's one of the things.
Unless you spit on me, then we might get violent.
Oh my gosh.
But it doesn't like
Brian,
that.
I don't know. Would you do it? I'm a hothead. Brian remembers me when I was a little kid.
Carrie could go from 0 to punch you in the face.
1,000.
Yeah, if you got to.
I've had to spend my entire lifetime battling that demon.
But he's so good at it now, though, that I loved in college. I loved taking him with me out to the bar because he has that ability to detach himself from the situation and say, you know what, Brian? You're causing a lot of problems now. This ain't going to go down good. I fear and feel the cops are coming.
Oh, I felt them breathing down my neck.
Let's go, Brian. And
Right.
for some reason, I usually listen to him. Was there ever a time I didn't?
I mean, I've had to get real forceful, but...
Well, I listened eventually.
But prior to being able to learn how to control that, when I was a kid, it was bad. I think the whole family was like, whoa, stay away from Carrie. Because you're right, it would be like, just snap.
And if you want your own personal Covfefe cup, Smyth Radio Covfefe cup,
with the white pride. No, I'm just kidding. Whoa, I joke.
This is jokes.
This is jokes.
That means that America is A-OK.
Speaking of which,
go to patreon.com/Smyth Radio. We are working together to help spread the word, the MAGA meetups.
Oh, by the way, we got to talk about that for real quick.
That's why I brought up. We're trying to get to California, folks.
Somebody specifically asked me, are you coming
SoCal
to California? And they said, before I took a deep breath and I paused, and they said, no, you have to come. Please, you have to come. I'm telling you this, and I'm telling everybody this. I'm not trying. I'm trying hard not to sound like a beggar, but I just have to let you know the facts. I cannot afford to go out there. Me and Brian, we're just not able.
We're family men. We're just your regular workers. This is just what we do.
We're new at this. We've been doing it for 4 years, but we've been doing it on our own dime, very economically. When we went to Georgia, we were able to just hop in the car on like 1 or 2 tanks of gas. We got a really inexpensive hotel room, and we were able to save up for that.
Right.
That's not going to be the case with the California meetup. And so we have the GoFundMe. Is it GoFundMe.com/Smyth Radio, or is it a different link? I don't know.
Yeah, GoFundMe.com/Smyth Radio.
Okay.
And the number 3. And by the way,
the number 3? I didn't know that. Okay,
yeah,
good.
By the way, the Covfefe Cup is coming to you in England. There's a supporter in England.
Okay.
And I am sending it to you. It will cost me $20 to send it.
I think it's 23, isn't it?
It's $23 to send it all the way to England. But I'm doing this because of your faith in us and my promise to you. So absolutely, it's on its way. It might take a little bit, but it's on its way. Here's the thing. We've got to make this trip to California because we've got Antonio Sabata Jr., who's running for political position in California. He will be the speaker at the mega meetup. He has 1.2 million followers on Twitter, and he follows us.
Awesome sauce.
Antonio Sabato Jr. follows Smyth Radio, and we've got to get to L.A.
and thank him
to thank him in order to be there.
Now, here's my pitch. My pitch is, you know about Timothy Schwartz.
Yes.
He's Buckaroo for you on Twitter. You know what we're trying to do. I've got to get FaceTime with these people so I could look them in the eye and say, you can do this. Precinct committeemen. There's tons of them that are vacant. I just found out today, after I got off the phone with Timothy today, how I'm going to try my hardest to become a precinct committeeman in my precinct. We need to load this with Trump supporters across the nation.
Right.
Because you wouldn't believe how much power you get. I called another woman that had no idea that I was doing this project because she knows about our precinct and how it works. And I told her what I was trying to do. And she reiterated what Timothy said about the power. She said, you would not believe the amount of power that these precinct committeemen have. And so...
was it Alice Cooper?
Yes.
Okay.
So they are going to have the power, and they're going to have the love and admiration and support of the Trump movement, as opposed to what we have right now. These precincts are loaded with rhinos. These are Paul Ryan people. These are Rob Portman people. These are John Kasich people. I'm telling you, it's loaded. The GOP is loaded with those people. And I need to be able to get to California, and not just California, but all the mega meetups. They're going to have one in Las Vegas. They're going to have them all over the country, and we just need people to help us out and get to these places so I could tell these people face to face how it's going to happen. And I'm also going to try to be a speaker, and I want to try to speak to these people, these crowds about it.
We are there to represent you folks, our listeners.
Yeah.
Our listeners, all of you who can hear the sound of my voice.
Yeah. I'll give you one example of the power.
Out of my mouth.
I'll give you one example of the power.
Okay.
John Kasich was endorsed by the GOP in Ohio.
Ugh!
All right.
Who said he should have ran as a Democrat.
Right. Do you know how he gets endorsed by the GOP?
No, I have no idea.
The precinct committeemen vote on it. You could literally vote not to endorse
your own candidate.
Your own candidate in the GOP. Could you imagine the news?
We should have, because of how liberal he is.
Could you imagine national news coming out saying the GOP in Ohio has not endorsed John Kasich, say when he was running? Not obviously he's done.
Right.
He's going to run for president. But this is the power of a precinct committeeman. So that's why I need to get to these places. So please go to patreon.com.
We need to.
Right. Patreon.com/Smyth Radio. It's Smyth Radio.
That will Patreon.com Smyth Radio will be a subscription. That'll be yours.
Yeah.
For a one-time donation, just a one-time donation, you can go to the GoFundMe.com/Smyth and the number 3. SMYTH number 3. I don't know. It's what
whatever
they did.
Yeah.
Anyways, But I would absolutely rather, it's a better deal. I'm going to be honest with you. It's a better deal to go to patreon.com/Smyth Radio because you'll be invited to the private text message group.
Exactamundo.
You'll be able to talk with us on a regular basis. And you'll also find out how to get your own personal Covfefe cup. And we are running out of time. And this is why we're doing this CNN class action lawsuit to take down fake news media. This is why we're doing it, and because of CNN having talking about Trump's mental health issues. They asked the panel, what do you think about Trump's mental health?
Let me read to you her tweet. The president is showing signs of erratic behavior and mental instability that place the country in grave danger. Time to invoke the 25th Amendment.
Whatever. She's looking for her own 50
Whatever.
She is.
President Trump is smarter than anybody in this room.
Amen.
He has made millions of dollars. He knows what he's doing. And for her to think he's mentally, what in the world? Why would you think that guy's mental? He ain't mental. You know, we have two choices, Hillary and him. And if Hillary was the president right now, what do you think would be going on in North Korea? What do you think the stock market would be doing?
What do you think would be going on in North Korea?
North Korea, that guy would probably have already done something. I know the stock market wouldn't have gone up.
Oh, it would have been terrible. The economy would be terrible. Unemployment would have stayed horrible, if not worse, than what it was under Obama.
CNN sucks.
I'm just saying. Folks, if Donald Trump says this to us at the rally,
I am your voice,
then we've got to do what we can to support him and to do what we can to get the word out. Fake news media, we do what we do because we love it. We love America. We love this country, and we want to see good come to all of us. A smart, wise, and very important leader once told me, a rising tide raises all ships. Folks, we'll all go there all at the same time. This rising tide that I'm calling out for next year, this time next year, will raise all ships in the sense that better jobs, better wages, companies are able to hire more. I mean, just look at the things they're not talking about now, about the stock market, about the housing market, the economy, the optimism level.
I help out. I help out.
It is true to roof. And yeah, that's English too. True to roof. It's good stuff. All right, folks, you've got to follow us around on Twitter. We will do our best to follow you back. If you are active on Twitter and tweet things out, yes, definitely put our name in it. It'll catch our attention. We'll like and retweet it. Somebody asked me about that in the private group today, so I'm able to give you that information. I never thought about that, but those are great, great questions. So if you tweet out an article, a news article you think is worthy, put at Smyth Radio or put at Brian P. Smith. It'll catch our attention. We'll see it, like it, and retweet it. That will help you get more notice, and other people will follow you for like-minded people. That's just what we do. We all take care of each other here. On Facebook, on iHeartRadio, if you're on the run, iHeart.smithradio.com. The YouTube channel's great. You get to YouTube. We're all over the place, folks. Smyth Radio is all over the place for you. Military Veteran Talk Radio. That's what we do. Whew, I'm winded.
All right, guys. Yeah, that was a mouthful. Thank you guys so much for listening today. And don't forget to check us out on the Facebook page. And definitely follow us on Twitter. Like and retweet everything that we do. And don't forget, I would set it on your calendar to tune in every single Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. And, just look out for us.
Wow, the fast 3 hours you'll spend anywhere in your entire life, folks. Share it with your friends and your family. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.